And Muzz got mad at me, the coach said, he goes, Jesus Christ, why don't you just work 2 nights? And I went, okay.
Please never do that.
Yep. So,
hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 465 of Spittin' Chicklets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. What is up, everyone? Another successful Chicklets Cup here in Buffalo. Another NHL season on tap tonight. We're coming to you from Buffalo, so let's check in with the boys first. Matt Murley.
Wait. How about this fucking intro? This is the most...
He's actually buzzing.
You are buzzing. This is the most professional I've ever seen you.
Oh, wow.
Other than that conversation we had with Kevin Adams, where he was basically...
That was. We'll get into that one. I mean, but besides sleeping through the first half of every big deal Sluts game, he's been buzzing this weekend. I'll give you... I mean, as I said... I don't remember where we were when I said, how do you do it, RA? Like, you were a complete mess again, but right now you're feeling it and flying high. So keep going, bud.
I think it's the air guitar from last night.
Yes, the rock star. All right. But I didn't know when Dirty Honey, who was the a great band that we had for the live concert last night, they told RA they were going to bring him up for a Rolling Stone song, a Mick Jagger song. That's his guy. But it was a Keith Richards song, RA told me after. So you had to kind of think on the fly a little bit in terms of like, you didn't know all the words necessarily. It wasn't great for you, but the movement was very Mick Jagger.
I think your crack arm kind of like distracted everybody from the words.
Somebody said he doesn't have triceps.
Yeah. Well, it is. I'm a Jag guy, and I when he got there, he goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Happy," and right off, I'm like, "Oh, that's a Keith song," because you can't prance around like Jagger singing
when he's not singing.
Right. So but he just kind of does that thing where he just kind of hits that move I was doing. Kind of.
What was your heart rate when he told you that song, and you're like, "Oh"?
I was kind of prepared for it because I'm like, if they throw a Keith tune at me, I got to be ready to rock roll because they do get some huge hits that Keith sings. But I just vibed to it. But then at the end, when there was no singing, I threw a little Jagger in there for the crowd after.
And I would say overall, I'm not a lyric guy. I can't remember the words to songs, like where I mumble them out.
Yeah,
sometimes.
you don't remember many things.
You were incredible at it.
No, I'm actually not. I'd have to know a song real well. If I know a song real well, I know the lyrics. I think that kind of probably stands for everyone listening right now.
I don't know.
But I don't like hear something a couple times and remember everything. No chance.
Okay.
Also,
every time I'm in your car, you can like belt out.
That's because it's my playlist, my like list from Spotify. So I just probably know those songs.
I think you're good at it. Take a compliment.
I will say, RA, you came out to do the kind of hype speech to the crowd about Dirty Honey coming on and introduce them, and I was a little nervous, and you started out, I think Posh has the video, and you came out and you're like, and I was like, oh shit, but then you reeled it right in and gave him a hell of an intro, so you had me panic for a second.
That was actually a Mick Jagger nod, because at the beginning of one of the live CDs I was talking about
he speaks gibberish.
He comes out, he goes, "Oh, I think I busted a button on my trousers, I hope they don't fall down." You know, my trousers fall down now, do you?
Okay.
So it was a nod to the Get Your Yayas Out, which is an album me and Mark were talking about before the show, so it was kind of a little Stones reference, and plus no one knows it's Keith Richards is singing anyway, so I kind of got off the hook with that one. So
okay, all right. Last thing with you that then we'll really get into the weekend. The video will be out. What's up with the scratch in your ass at the bar?
I don't think he's seen it.
Oh, you don't know?
Oh my god.
So you have this kind of habit right now of your hands down your.
Well, no. So he gets buckled, and then we obviously had this camera crew following him around, and all of a sudden, throughout any of these, a video starts circulating of like how buckled you were, or just something that you did. That was so preposterous that you're unaware that you're doing it.
Yeah.
You had your fucking knuckles up your cornhole in this one video.
Just
I have the
scratching.
most. It's the perfect Chicklets Cup video where we're at the hotel bar where RA has his hand all the way down his pants, his finger in his butt.
We're not talking about like
you saying at least
inside the pant, outside the underwear. We're talking about you can see probably 4 inches of his underwear and your elbow deep in your arse. What is going on with your itchy bum?
I don't know. Sometimes
itchy bum
with new. Actually, I did bust out new boxes this week. Sometimes you wear them, they get a little itchy. You sleep on the wrong way. It could be that. I don't know if I had like a little sore ass or something, just rubbing the muscle. I don't have much of a muscle in my ass, but yeah, as long as, like I said, as long as it was my ass, I was groping and not somebody else's, I'm fine with that.
But I got this video though. It's RA hand down pants. It pans across the bar to Terry Ryan just sucking face with someone.
We'll get into Terry Ryan. We'll get into Terry Ryan. We will. But in finishing this, the best part was after it was a 30, 40 second just scratch of the cornhole by you, and then you came out and you high-fived some guy with that that hand so hard. I said, holy shit. Yeah. Oh my God. The poor guy, hopefully he didn't see the video. He'd probably be in a hospital right now. But it was a hell of a weekend. In a sense of the fans, I think really enjoyed coming out here. All the participants, all the people who just came to watch. We have an issue on our hand, though. You stink. You guys stink. And it's at the point
we're going to address that right away. We're going to dive right into it. The Big Deal Select. So for those of you who don't follow the social media and know what's going on, we throw these massive ball hockey tournaments. We're in the A division. I'm with a bunch of world champions, Terry Ryan and crew. We're called the Big Deal Selects. First tournament we ever did was in Detroit. This nose-face kid met us in the casino. He starts barking, yapping off. He ends up running through the whole tournament and then
winning in overtime that tournament. He scored the winner in OT.
Against Zach Werenski and all of his buddies.
Yes. Right, that's right. Yes. He beat a bunch of NHLers, so I thought, why not put our own team in? So we did. Our first tournament was Vegas. We got spanked twice by him and then mercied in the finals. I went to last year's Chicklets Cup in Buffalo. We lost them in the finals. Great game, lost by a goal. End up meeting them in the round robin in this one as this tournament's growing in the A division, and we end up losing in a shootout, which is bullshit. We'll get to the rules of it. We ended up tying them up late, losing to Nose-Face Killer.
He scored the winner. He scored the winner in the shootout.
But we both get to the semifinals, both teams, Nose-Face and our team, the Big Deal Selects, and we both lose to these unbelievable ball hockey teams who showed up, one of which is ranked 10th in all of Canada, I believe.
Yes, the Ottawa Godfathers.
The Ottawa Godfathers. These guys were a bunch of like legit like plumbers, like one's a fireman, one guy frames houses, and these guys came out and they whooped the shit out of us. They beat us to a man. We have goaltending issues. We talk about the con man all the time on our team.
Con man's probably going to be the post-practice bike crew for a little bit.
There's a few players that are going to be moved up to the front office.
There's a few players that, well, let's just say that it's our tournament, right? We're throwing this Chicklets Cup. It's pathetic at this point. 4 Chicklets Cups. We can't win one. At some point, you got to look and say, Biz, like, I don't know what's going on, but for me to be a part of this, I'm ready to jump ship. And people know that maybe I'm not the most loyal motherfucker when it comes to sticking to teams. I'm usually the one traded. Your team is disgusting because guys come in here and everyone wants to have a good time. And we love the guys staying out late and ripping it up. I told TR, I said, I need more out of you. I need more out of you, TR.
So I didn't drink for a month leading into this because I didn't want to embarrass myself again. And I was pretty good. I didn't drink all weekend. I still haven't drank. I took a little bit of shrooms. I smoked a little bit of weed, but I kept it on the rails and was in bed at decent hours. But these guys, I mean, Con Man, every time he shows up, he's 10 pounds heavy.
Yes. But
what did Keith Yandel text you?
He said he's right now shaped like a plasma TV. Now, here's the thing. Con Man is the most skilled player. He like, Con Man isn't an issue in terms of the team.
No, but
he's getting out of breath quick.
So against this Ottawa team, what's their name again?
The Godfathers.
The Godfathers. We lost 8-3. It wasn't like a close game. They like worked us.
It was a pumping.
So there was never any like sustained offense. So like Con Man, as good as he is, didn't really see much in the final from him. I thought Hauser and Schlegger, who are 2 of the best American-born players in the ball hockey world, they're on our team as well. I thought they were solid.
Conman's coming off a torn rotator cuff, too. He tore his rotator cuff like 4 months ago, too. So let's keep that in mind.
Okay. Wasn't aware of that. Wasn't aware of that.
He was also coming off a 2 a.m. casino night with me.
Yeah, getting carried out in cuffs, for fuck's sakes. No, that didn't happen. And he's also gassing probably from the minute the games end till he goes to sleep. Easily 24 drafts.
Easy.
Yes. And he mixes in IPAs too. I mean, he's hammering beers. He's hammering beers. The whole team's hammering beers, which I enjoy. Now, you run into these other teams that aren't drinking, or most of the guys aren't.
It is part of the experience, though, to come here and get fucked up and have a great weekend with the boys. I just think that until we win Chicklets Cup, like I think that we need to maybe tone it down. And it needs to be taken a lot more seriously where Terry Rand can't be up till 5 a.m., rolling around.
Like win one. It's like you're throwing your own tournament every year and you never win and you lose to the same kid every time. It's like, enough's enough. It's pretty embarrassing. And I love these guys. But Biz, also, you work your balls off out there. I was very impressed. But like, if we want to win, I don't know if you're playing either. Okay, so I don't know if you're playing either.
I got to look myself in the mirror. I had a bad turnover in the final game, and that put them up 3-2. That was
You go one-handed a lot. It's like you're kind of running, pushing it one-handed, but then you never throw the left bottom hand on, and then you just flick it. And I'm like,
that's when the problems start happening. That's like we talk about my golf swing when you go past halfway, man. I mean, yeah, I'm not that good, but here's the thing. So we have 3 lines and 2 extra, which are the on the bench guys. Now, I love these guys. I know I'm better than the on the bench guys. We might have to make them.
But to win, like I don't think you guys are. I want them around.
Black aces. They're perfect black aces.
But now I said last night, I said, I don't know if Terry might be up in the GM spot, but all the guys came up and said, he's our glue. No, trust me.
No, I'm not going to give up.
So I knew right away. I said, all right, Terry's fine. We just can't have him. He has to sleep a couple hours.
This is the text I got from Terry Ryan. He's not going anywhere. I'm not going to bail on my team. It also wasn't my last Chicklets Cup. In fact, from that A division, I think we're going to expand to 16 teams.
Oh, you'll never win.
Time out. We're going to keep it 3-on-3. We are talking about, and I've talked to every team about this, even the teams who won at this time, the Ottawa Ghost Riders or whatever the fuck they're, Godfathers. We'd be okay with expanding these rinks a little bit and then implementing sport court.
I've said it.
What I know, but
for years.
I know, but that it's more of a process and it's more to add on. Jonesy's crew, who helps us out with setting these things up, they do an incredible job. Every game starts on time. They get the best referees. But I've talked to every team, and we're trying to expand the rinks a little bit, add sport court, because playing on this cement does take the skill out of it, and we do have a lot of ball hockey skilled players. But here's the text I got from Terry Ryan. Biz, thanks for everything. Sorry we didn't deliver. I believe in us. Obviously with some changes, but we'll talk about that another time. I totally understand if you can't go with us again. And if that happens, we are grateful for everything. And he did the pray hands and the heart. I'm throwing emojis at me. Bothers me we didn't fucking win because I know we could have. At this point, it's all the best players around. We lost to a great team. However, I still feel shitty about losing. Anyway, whatever happens, we had a blast, and you guys are friends for life. Love you, buddy. Thanks again, especially for treating Senior so well. The guy is happier than ever. Have a great season. That's a leader.
Can't bail on that guy.
No. But he's got to play better, and that's the text you send to GM after the season when you're like, I stunk this season.
Or he doesn't have to play better, but he doesn't have to have so many minutes. Maybe.
Yeah. Well,
maybe one shift a period guy.
Listen, goaltending. We didn't have Mosier, who we really. I don't think we ever talked about this.
I didn't even know this story. I don't even know if the guy wants it out there. I mean, we could probably leave it with Chicklets Cup, like kind of destroyed his life a little bit in terms of the home front. But we missed him.
But he also is quoted as saying it was worth it.
But the best part of the story is on the way back, I guess they stopped at the border, and he was already 3 hours late to their van. He didn't have his ID. He didn't have his passport. He didn't have his phone. And apparently the Canadians custom guy opened the van door and just looked at him. And it was apparently just death eyes, and looked right through him, and he just goes, go ahead, guys. Didn't check one passport. Just seeing Moser, he said, get out of my face, go into Canada. So that's pretty much how we lost our goalie. Tequila, he was our goalie this year. Great guy. Didn't have his stuff.
In the finals.
In the finals.
But semifinals.
And semifinals. And it was 8-3.
We don't want to run too long on this whole Chicklets Cup. We have a lot of thank yous to send around, but he didn't make a couple stops. I made a mistake. Terry wasn't good. To a man, we got smoked by a bunch of lumberjacks. And this Ottawa team, along with other great teams, are going to keep coming. So we're going to expand to 16. That is going to happen. We don't know when the next Chicklets Cup is. We're thinking about moving away from Buffalo, but it's such an amazing venue at Riverworks. And we'll talk about the sport court and maybe expand the rink a little bit with Jonesy.
Yeah, the finals definitely represented higher quality. That Ottawa team. Plus, you got to shout the London team as well that lost in the finals. Those are the guys who, remember I told you I had some recruits from London, Biz? That was a few of the guys on that team.
Yeah. What's their team name? Do we have it?
I forget. I forget what
they know who they are, and they've been to everyone.
Yeah, Downsy, the defenseman, a good
kid. This tournament has become an elite tournament. Like the best ball hockey teams in like the world are coming to this thing, which is
because
cool.
We don't have the sport court. The guy said the French teams won't come, and apparently the French teams play hard and they're greasy and they a lot of stick work. So all of a sudden, when we get the sport court and get the French teams in the mix, this is going to turn on to an all-out war. We might not even
make the playoffs.
What about?
We might not get out of the round robin.
We got to talk about Wario Witt, the kid on Ottawa. They were saying that he looked like
No, right away I saw him like big receding hairline, tall, pale, and I was like, that's me out there. And then he had 91 on, and I wore 19 when I could. That was my favorite number. He was unbelievable.
He had 4 against them, 4 goals.
Yeah, and then like snipes, knocking pucks out of midair, and it was like it wasn't even like I'm the Walmart version of Witt of 91 on the Ottawa Godfather. So a very, very impressive performance by that guy. I told him after, a hell of a player. He's like, who are you?
Your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, bro.
I bumped into him last night, too. I gave him some props, too. He's a hell of a player. But, we got to the semifinals. I'm sorry, the finals, and I was at Roller C. The couple guys, we auctioned off Merles and Army. They played for a team. What division were you in, Merles?
Very cool. This is a cool story.
Yeah, so we sandbagged a little bit, me and Army. We end up in Roller D. It was a great family. They auctioned us off. It's Jeff and Jess Weiss. Their son tragically died in a car accident. He was hit by a drunk driver. So they have a big foundation.
They've been to every Chicklets Cup.
Every Chicklets Cup. And I don't know why they're donating money to this foundation, but they did. And they were just the best people. Gave all the money to Alex Tuck's foundation.
89 Foundation, yeah.
And they were just the best people. They were so happy. It was my fault. I had the game on my stick. I didn't score. We lost.
You seen this save this? Yeah. It's on, I think, our Twitter. It's a ridiculous.
Twice in a row.
I've been there.
It's a 10-bell save.
Yeah.
But Army almost got in a couple fights out there. He still has that WHL jam that he played with, kind of flexing his shoulders after he's kind of running through people. So I got to see some of that. Saw a little of G's game. And I mean, it was cool to get to auction you guys off. And I never thought, I mean, they got, I think, 1,400 and then 1,700 for G. And just, I was kind of blown away by that. And then G has to match it. So don't let him sneak out of that one.
Beforehand, me and Merles are talking about how much we're going to get. And we're going around to people being like, hey, like, I'll pay you to donate. Because I didn't think anyone was going to donate.
You didn't want to get embarrassed.
I didn't want to get embarrassed.
Like $5.
So,
I started at $2.99.
So I had people in the crowd. I'm like, if no one bids, throw $100 up there. I'll give you the 100. And it ends up being $1,600 because I said I'd match it. So I'm like, fuck. But I ended up with the best group of guys, the Myrtle Beach Riptide, who are actually playing in honor of their friend who recently passed of cancer, Bruno. Shout out to Bruno and his family. But yeah, just the best group of guys. We lost in the finals. RA's redemption arc got fired by Team Barstool last year, took us to the finals this year. But just the best group of guys. And one guy during one of our games scored the best goal I've ever seen.
Is it on video?
We got it on video.
Nice. Oh
30 yards out, probably 30 yards out, comes down on a 1-on-2, picks it up on his stick, and just throws it over his shoulder, picks the top left corner, comes back to the bench. And I'm like, that's the craziest goal I ever seen. And all of his boys on the bench were like, the craziest part is he said before the game he was going to do it.
No way.
Yeah,
wow, I gotta see that video.
Yeah, it was but Myrtle Beach Riptide, it was an awesome time. The roller division, Merles, how fun is that?
Roller's the best. That's what maybe a Big Deal Selects move to roller.
No, we're sticking with ball hockey.
That's going well for you guys.
There's rumors of a Game Notes team potentially next time. You guys were talking about. You guys want to have your own team.
Well, we threw Shauno in. He played a game, got 2 goals. I know Memesy can play. Let's see. We'll see what happens.
Before we continue, it's Witt, and we got a Pink Whitney New York City trip on the line. If you think any of your friends or particular friend is the ultimate life of the party, nominate them and you could win a trip to New York City, the Pink Whitney New York City trip. One lucky winner will receive an epic New York City trip for them and 3 friends, complete with a tour of Barstool headquarters. 10 secondary prize winners will receive Pink Whitney party packs with everything you and your crew need to take your shot and throw the ultimate house party. It's easy to enter. Just go to pinkwhitney.com to enter your info. Nominate your life of the party friend and describe how they always make the party next level for a chance to win the ultimate Pink Whitney New York City trip. And of course, make sure to head on over to your local bar and order some Pink Whitney. Enjoy.
Yeah, thanks to Alex Tuck, too. He stopped by for a little bit the other day. Also, shout out to the Mohawk Pals biz that we had a nice smoke session with Thursday night.
Oh my God.
They asked me a while back to coach
They
them.
brought us weed right off the reservation, and all right. I didn't smoke as much as I normally would because I know that it's straight gas. And then what was that blunt? How big was that thing?
That was a 3.5 gram joint, so it was an eighth in a joint. I thought I was making an interracial porn when I fucking.
That's when we went upstairs and we ran into Kevin Adams and talked to him for 40 minutes. RA was just drooling.
Well, mind you, so right before Kevin Adams showed up, RA was asleep at the bar and I'm videoing, and then you kind of wake up and you're just like, oh, and then the bartender comes over, this nice girl, Lauren, she says, can I get you another Cadillac margarita? And you're like, yeah. And I said, hey, I said, excuse me. I go, this guy's completely crippled. Like, do you cut people off here? Like maybe you don't give him that one? She goes, we're in Buffalo. I was like,
my girl.
And then she made him another Cadillac margarita. So then Kevin Adams comes up. Awesome conversation.
Oh my God, what a guy.
He is a great guy. And, getting into the Atlantic Division, obviously, maybe not quite yet, but in terms of meeting him, super impressive. I remember kind of playing against him in his NHL career. Well, then he was telling us that he had coached here for a little bit. I think they made a bunch of changes. Yeah. Head coach was fired, and Terry Pagula kept him on. And from there, he was working in the hotel here.
Yeah.
He was working in the business office. He'd actually, until he became GM a few years ago, had worked every step of the way in like all of kind of Terry Pagula's, I guess, ownership things in terms of the Sabres and business. And so a pretty cool story that he's now seen everything, which I think is important for people who come up. It's hard to just hop in to be a GM. You got to know what's going on beneath you. So, and he had some great comments on his excitement for the Sabres. Just a really down-to-earth guy that we're going to sit down with at one point.
I wish we were recording the conversation. We were like grilling him for 35 minutes.
We were grilling. I was asking him about all these different players, and then all of a sudden, we just get the RA, he's a good coach, Mr. Adams. And I was like, don't mind him. He's just one of our friends.
I remember Chad. He does have.
Oh yeah.
So like his whole come up and stuff. He come out of nowhere. I remember we got hired. Like, okay, was kind of baffled.
Not to put you on the spot.
They were giving him credit at first.
Not to put you on the spot, but like, tell me one other thing that he talked about, other than what Whit just said, and you repeated it.
His come up mostly. I remember talking.
So what's one
other thing he said then?
So one cool thing was that they have so many first overall picks. Owen Power, and then was Dahlin,
and now Erik Johnson.
So they picked up Erik Johnson, and he also talked about the amazing habits already that Erik Johnson's rubbing up on him. Like, hey, regardless of how big your ceiling is, like in order to have a sustainable career, you have to take care of yourself. Like he's already convinced them to get saunas.
Yeah, you had Dahlin talking. He's talking about the infrared sauna. He had one the next day at his house
with another $20K in suits that he ordered. But just like little things like that to be professional. So when you have all these young studs coming up, you need a lot of leadership around who have been around a while and done it. Like, I mean, it's like a guy like Chris Chelios in the room, like, yeah, you want to go for beers the night before? Yeah. Well, you better be in the fucking sauna, riding the bike, sweating them out, and being the first one at practice and having your gear on and out on the ice and being in there with the boys. So just like learning that type of stuff. So that was another element that I liked.
Like being first at the Chicklets Cups Friday morning too, was similar to that.
You?
Yeah, right. I was
he was there. Yeah, he was there.
Did I do a good job of breaking down the Erik Johnson, bringing him in, what he articulated to us?
Yep, he was talking about, lining up guys and signing guys early in terms of Dylan Cousins, getting him locked in for a long-term deal. They're going to try to get Power done, obviously, and Dahlin, right? So it was a cool conversation, and he was cool to chat with us and give us some inside info.
What was one other one he said? He talked about when he went to see I forget, Devon Levi.
Yeah, Devon Levi.
Oh, yeah, that was a good story.
Devon Levi. So that was a really cool story that he told about when you're a prospect and you're coming up, and he was already drafted by Buffalo. I believe it was the first ever game that he was going to go see him play, right?
It was, I don't know if it was the first game, but Northeastern was playing Harvard, and he had already been in town for Buffalo playing the Bruins. And so he hung around for the game. And obviously when the GM's coming and you're a big prospect, the GM's going to be there.
Yeah.
So Levi's getting ready for the game, and he gave up 8 goals. They were down like 8-3. He got pulled. It was the first time he's ever been pulled. And so all Kevin Adams was telling us is he's just watching the body language. He knew how good he was, but it's more about, wow, I'm seeing him on a big time off night. He said the body language is incredible. Never gave a look at a defenseman.
Didn't he go back up to the coach and ask him to put him back in the game, right? So he saw him walk over to the coach. And then after the game, obviously as the GM, you're interested to know the interaction. Apparently he went in and said, hey, I don't want it to seem like I'm giving up on the guys. I'd appreciate it if you put me back in there. So it wasn't this like arrogant comment that he said. He just, he wanted to learn and grow from it. So this is the mentality that his future starting goalie is going to have. And it was just cool to hear a GM be so enthusiastic about like every player he was talking about. Like Tage, he went down the list of everyone. And one of the kids I didn't even realize was having such a good preseason. This Benson,
Zach Benson.
This town loves him. Everybody's talking to him. He's the new Josh Allen.
Sounds like he's going to make the team.
I just ran into him down on Timmy Hose. He's going to be on the opening night roster.
No way.
That's great. After seeing him play the other night, he had another goal. I think he's
goal and an apple.
Yeah, so I think he's over a point per game preseason, which whatever. It's not the real NHL, but this young just drafted. He's now definitely going to get his 9 games. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Like just check out, see what you have, because he fit right in out there, and he's not that big, but the motor on him, it was nonstop. And he kind of talked about that. I was reading draft interviews that he doesn't take shifts off. So impressive young player. And I actually remember the day after the draft, I went to meet Hazy at his hotel in Nashville. And I saw Benson and all his buddies, and they were like, Grinelli said he was going to help us get into the bar. He never answered us last night. So I said to Grinelli at the game the other night, he goes, they're 18 years old, dude. What was I going to do? So,
but hey, the craziest part about Benson.
We're in Buffalo.
Buffalo, I'm not cutting off this guy.
Benson's a carny. Like his family ran a carnival in the summer.
Yeah,
so he would travel around and he would just join all these different hockey schools across Canada. Like every time they'd go to a new city, he would just jump in on that hockey school in that city. Yeah.
And then he worked the mini donut stand in the afternoon. He did. No joke.
He did.
He actually carnival. He worked the mini donut stand.
Make that
I'm not kidding.
Swear to God.
Had to fix the tilt-a-whirl.
And then he's like sat in a box and the magician cut him in half. He did it all.
Oh, shit.
Unbelievable.
All right, Bill, before we wrap up, we got some thank yous, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Huge thanks to Pink Whitney, as always. Big Deal Brewing and Labatt. Friends at Body Armor. Riverworks, of course. Jonesy and the great staff at Hockey Fest. Another tremendous job.
True Hockey, too. True Hockey came in as a late sponsor. They gave us all a ton of hockey equipment. I've never used a True Hockey stick before. Incredible. And really funny story that I was meeting with the owner beforehand just to talk about the deal, and I made a joke. I called out Biz on this like big business call. I'm like, yeah, we don't have to worry. Like, it won't be like Biz taking a picture with his ballistic stick that he has on his Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy's like, are you fucking with me? And I'm like, no, what do you mean? And he's like, well, we were ballistic. He's like, before True, we were ballistic. He's
Put
like,
your shoe in your mouth.
I didn't know that.
he's like, Biz was the first guy that we ever signed.
That's why we had
I have
changed
that
the
picture.
name of the brand.
Shut the fuck up. I have that picture on the bench when I'm sitting there that we used for like 12 days to the season starts. And
they were giving you a couple grand. You were
10 grand.
10 grand.
I was like, "What? You're gonna pay me to use these shovels?" But here's the thing, though. Great stick. They're like a true one piece, so it's all connected, not connected at the blade, and like some of them. And it was me and Jaromir Jagr using them in the NHL. Jagr was using them, dude. So I was like, "Fucking hey, man!"
The skates, I guess they have the skates, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's their skate. The boot,
so, dude, and you, they're completely like molded to your foot. I actually think if that technology was around when I was still playing, I'm just saying.
Here we go.
I'm just saying, guys.
Maybe show up to the rehab.
Skate
get out of the bar.
My foot. No, but it's a great company. Awesome gear. So thanks for them for jumping on.
Yeah. Oh no.
Couple more thank yous. Obviously, the Buffalo Sabres, the ticket thing, that was great. I mean, to be able to have that many guys come to the game, it was awesome stuff.
Well, yeah, and we're gonna dive into the game.
Yeah,
Crosby.
Yeah. Crosby
fighting in preseason. Now, if the Chicklets guys aren't there, you think he gets in a scrap? He knew we were in the fucking building.
Bump.
He knew.
I don't think he gives a flying fuck if we were in the building. I think that he saw Letang get run over, and like as we talked about last year,
you're right.
He's the guy that kind of has to do something.
I was trying to
I said all offseason they have no goons to go out there and defend their players.
I was trying to correlate the two, but next time he's on, I'm going to ask him.
Yeah, we will. We will. Carlson, he is ridiculous. Yeah. Like the puck is on a string. He had a sick. Cross ice from the blue line to the goal line, tap in for Malkin. So it's going to be pretty exciting. I know we're doing the Atlantic. I don't think the Letang and Carlson on the power play together is going to work. They looked kind of like a little disheveled, but we'll see how it goes. But the Penguins, some excitement there. They ended up coming back and kind of thumping the Sabres.
That kid Harkins looked pretty good.
He did.
The guy that
played in Winnipeg. Yeah, number 43.
Harkins?
No, it's not Jansen. I think it's Thomas Harkins. I looked at his hockey DB. He played it for a while in Winnipeg. I remember him there. But then last year he was in the AHL most of the season. And I think he had 50, 60 points. So that could be a guy. That's like what the Penguins need. Some cheaper, kind of not unknown, but guys to step out of nowhere and fill a role for speed and physicality on the bottom two lines. So he looked good to me.
Yeah, it looked like they were having some chuckles in the penalties box too. Sid and Krebs, they were laughing about whatever was going on. They didn't seem too.
Oh, it is Jansen. It is Jansen.
Okay,
stay out with Jansen Harkins.
The other thing that stuck out is just how big Tage Thompson is out there, like on the ice when you get to see a game live and sit in the lower bowl. Even Malkin looks fucking huge.
Yeah, he's huge.
I've always wanted to tell a story about Thompson. You know, his dad was Brent Thompson.
He played in the NHL.
Well, yeah, and played against us in the AHL. So. He's so funny. You would know it was him. He used the old wooden sticks with it was square. So if somebody would cross check, you'd feel normal. But his cross check was like a sharp edge. And you're like,
what was he using?
You're like, it's Brent Thompson. You knew it was him.
Was he using
just by the feel of the cross check?
It was an old Sherwood, brown Sherwood. It was, and you just you knew it was him. He was so slow and old by then. You could just wheel around him. You knew it was him. Unbelievable guy, toughest guy. You remember the fight he had? Oh, you might not have been there with. He fought Frankie Rouleau. They had a face.
No, I wasn't there for that.
I can't believe his son has this much skill.
Yeah, he's popped off.
I know.
A couple more final thank yous. Dirty Honey, of course. Thanks to them for showing up. City of Buffalo, and of course our fans, our listeners, whether they played, come to hang out. Just a great vibes, man.
It was awesome.
Always great vibes. So thanks again to everybody for coming out. Subscribe to our YouTube if for some reason you have not yet. We do got a new sandbagger coming later this month. Follow our socials as well. And like I mentioned, hockey is back tonight, Tuesday night. Season kicks off at 5:30 on ESPN. Nashville's down in Tampa. Then 8 o'clock, the Connor Bedard era is officially underway. Chicago visits Pittsburgh to open up, and then the nightcap, Seattle at Vegas, 10:30. We just talked about Sid's little fight in the preseason, but how about this red zone thing that ESPN's going to do? Huh, Whit? We talked about the day they're going to have 16 games playing, all staggered starts. Wonder where they got that idea, huh, Merles?
Yeah.
And they're going to basically have like a red zone type thing. They're going to show all the big hits, power play goals. That should be fun, huh, Whit?
I love this idea. And granted, red zone, once they get in there, they can flip over to that game. So hockey will be different. I'm sure it'll just be right on after the goal scored.
Power plays too, I'm sure.
And yep, they'll go to power plays. That's true. 5-on-3s especially. So I can't wait for it just because it gives you the chance to just see all the highlights of every game. Whereas, the next day you usually catch the highlights of the games you didn't watch, but you're more in depth with the game. If it's going to power plays right after each goal, then you see certain ones that are going to get called back. I mean, the whole gambling aspect.
Next thing you know, they'll be doing it on Sundays.
Sundays at 1 and 4 o'clock.
You don't have to wait for 17 LeBron dunks to get going first before you got a couple assists.
No, but I love it. I can't wait. I think Bucci will be running that. That's right up Mr. Ice's alley.
Absolutely.
By the way, Elio should he's going to be on top of that.
Oh yeah.
I was about to text that Bucci, be like, dude, you need a live gambling.
Get Elio. He's going to bring 15 white Hanes shirts to rip in the course of the night. So we'll see how that goes. But I can't wait. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, it's going to be good stuff. Preliminary projections suggest the cap could go up to between 87 and 88 million for next season. What I know you were talking about Jack Hughes at that number they have him at. The more this cap goes up, the better value they have. Many guys.
You just see some of the $8 million guys out there right around there. And Buffalo fans kind of came right at me with Thompson and Cousins deal. It's just we've chirped so many GMs or chirped the fact of lining guys up for long term without proving much. But the ones that actually do work out and turn into what you thought, if not more, you're laughing. And I mean, if it goes up to 87.5 the next year, then the year after that, it hopefully goes up, say, $1 million or $2 million. You can't even picture where it's going to be in 10 years. And then if you got guys locked up 6, 7, 8 years at this money that are going to be producing close to 100 points, guy like Hughes, you're laughing at everyone else. You took a risk and it hit.
Absolutely. A couple signings since our last episode. Anaheim did sign restricted free agent defenseman Jamie Drysdale, as Whit says, 3-year, $6.9 million deal. You got a lot of grief for that for that trade.
Caught a lot of grief, but I will say I also thought he was the 2nd overall pick. Turns out he was the 6th. So once again, misinformed Whit, making a little bit of a fool of himself. But his rookie year when he was 19 or whatever, he lit it up. And then last year had the injury. And I think Zegras is going to, I mean, if Zegras is at 60 points the last 2 years, what's to say he can't get 70, 75? So let's just see in 4 years, if Dahlin looks what he may become to be true, that was good English, and wins like a Norris Trophy and continues to get 70 to 80 points, I was a fool. But if Drysdale pops off and Zegras goes, and then you think about 2 versus 1, we'll just see. We'll see. I'm not giving in yet, even though I've kind of flip-flopped 17 times.
I thought that 2.3 a year was low for 3 years.
He had no leverage.
I know he had no leverage, but like to like hold out, like I wonder what they were offering him, even if it was even shittier than that beforehand, or maybe it was term.
Yeah, I think. Well, he probably wanted, because he knew the number wasn't going to be big enough with long term. So then you want as short as possible, and they kind of just end up getting a great. If he comes to be,
he's making minimum wage living in California.
They have 10 million cap space heading into the year too, so it's not like they don't have any money.
He's going to be selling donuts like Benson.
I watched Anaheim play in LA preseason, and they got. LA looked great. They had their whole lineup in, but it's going to be, I think, tough sledding for the Ducks this year. At the same time, the future does look very bright. So it's more about just sticking with the plan and seeing how these guys can kind of develop.
Minnesota signed forward Ryan Hartman to a 3-year extension worth $12 million. Biz, this is the guy, I think Jacob Middleton called him a piece of shit on TV, right? Wasn't he talking about Hartman in that interview?
Yeah, his own teammate.
Yeah, in a good way.
Yeah, he's a guy like that.
Yeah. Heck of a player. And it seems like the team got some pretty good deals on guys who had career years 2 years ago, who had a bit of a setback, where they get to keep this group together. I mean, they've been very successful in the regular season over the past couple of years. It seems like they have great team chemistry in the locker room. They all get along. So I think it's a great number. And if he can get to, 75% offensive production, in which he did 2 years ago, that's more than a fucking bargain.
And what's cool is he, his last deal with the Wild, he took a pay cut. And Billy Guerin talked about kind of how much like he appreciated that and remembered that. I think he took $200,000 less a year than he'd been making. So to go out and then have that huge season of 30 goals or whatever 2 years ago, it kind of sucks that wasn't the free agent year.
Yeah.
But Billy Guerin remembered and knew that maybe last year, battling some injuries, it was just a little bit of a one-off. So I love the deal.
Yeah.
Biz, you just mentioned the locker room. A lot of people wondering, has the locker room been canceled in Canada? Hockey Canada has implemented a new policy for the 23-24 minor hockey season, including a quote, minimum attire rule with the goal of respecting privacy and making dressing environments more inclusive. This is from Hockey Canada. To best promote inclusion and to respect the privacy of all participants on a team, Hockey Canada requires all participants to wear minimum attire at all times in a dressing room or in dressing room environments where more than one participant is present. This means that participants should arrive at the rink wearing a base layer. Organization noted that a base layer could be shorts and a t-shirt, compression shorts and a shirt, or a sports bra. And the new policy also outlines recommended best practices for the use of showers, where players must wear minimum attire in open concept scenarios. So sounds to me like showering with a bathing suit on, if you read it different.
What age is this?
This is like
all of youth hockey in Canada.
I think the showering with a bathing suit, I mean, like that's fine if that's where they want to keep it. Basically, when you dive into these type of issues, you try not to like freak out because of the headline, because of the way that, when I used to go to a hockey rink, all the kids would go in there. We'd shower, the coaches would be in there, and like you just trusted that there wasn't a coach who was a fucking pervert trying to stare at the kids' horns. So you have to go down to the lowest common denominator, because let's say an area like Toronto, where all these random families are playing together, everything going on with like, maybe one of the sons wants to be a daughter, and you got to respect that. And, everybody's in kind of that safe space where they're just protecting themselves for the chance that one of these fucking idiots who are coaching want to stick around and do what it is at the lowest common denominator. So they're just protecting themselves. Do I think it's gotten to a ridiculous place? Yes. Like it'd be nice if it could just go back to normal, where it's like you're fucking, you're 12 years old, you play on a youth hockey team, the dads drop you off, you go to the locker room, you get changed with the boys, and you fuck off. Like it ain't that complicated, right? Am I going crazy here?
In terms of like boys or girls, I guess you reach like a certain age and it's not a big deal. I get when the kid's 7 years old, no problem. But once they're like in the room alone, like you're not in the room alone till you're old enough to then probably be sitting there naked. I don't really see what this is, how this is even a story, but younger kids 100%.
So I also did hear a story about like a parent who wasn't necessarily getting along with one of the coaches, and both their kids played on the team, obviously, where there was like an accusation that was thrown out there because the mother or whatever it was wasn't happy with the way that the kid's ice time was going and things like that. So sometimes these situations arise where like all of a sudden there's an investigation going on. I think what they're trying to do is implement these rules. So it's just like, there's really no gray area anymore. There can't be some fucking massive blow up with some of these stories that end up coming out of minor hockey.
I remember when,
and also on the flip side of it, like then like the Graham James shit happened, right? So like it has happened before. There are sick fucks. So I guess it's just from a legality standpoint, this is kind of what happens. So to see that headline and freak out and be like, why can't it be the way that us boys used to do it? It's kind of like ridiculous because the world has just gotten a lot crazier.
When BU was building their new rink, I never got to play in it, right? I left after my junior. I would have played in it my senior, but legendary coach Jack Parker, you know, he was a huge part of building the rink and figuring out where they wanted things. And the original plan had like stall showers, like individual showers. He's like, no. You open that up. All the boys are showering after the game together. We're like, ah. So times have changed.
Jans would be furious.
But to go back,
he's like, I want to see soap on your cock right now.
When I was coaching youth hockey, you have to do training. You have to do safe sport training. And some of the questions you like for us, it's like, how dumb can you be? But a lot of it is you never have a meeting with a door closed. Like I could never drive a player. There's a kid that lived right next door to me, but I couldn't drive him home from practice because who knows what will happen. You have that training, but people aren't listening to it. So that's what Hockey Canada is doing. Is they're covering their bases.
Oh, you're saying that they are teaching this stuff, but these coaches aren't implementing all the rules properly. Therefore, they have to hit their hammer down harder.
Exactly. So that's why, like, sometimes be like, Merles, drive him home. I'm like, no, dude, safe sport. I can't do it. I'm not allowed to do it.
I think it's like a 5-hour course.
And they're like, we know you're not a creep. But I'm like,
you can't drive another kid's
because I can't. I'm a coach. I can't be alone with a player like that's not my kid. So they're trying to eliminate all that stuff. Which is wild for us because when we were kids, our parents would send us off with a group.
I was thrown in the trunk in a carpool.
So they're trying. So I think this is just more they're trying to stop.
I can only imagine like little Timmy there with his bag. He's like, my parents forgot to pick me up. Can I get a ride home, coach? You're like, no, fuck you. Can't do it. Gotta follow the rule.
Like, give me a pick for Monday Night Football. Drive you home.
I would sit there in my car and wait for and watch him until his parent came, just so he didn't have to stand there.
Just stalking him.
Coach Merles kept talking about bird cages and action reverses.
It's like, it's cold out here. Can I come in the car? Nope. Stand on the curb over there.
Not allowed to do it.
All right, gang. We do have the Atlantic Division to preview, the last one. We do want to let you know we have an unreal guest coming up in a little bit. P.S. Cedric Labrie.
Oh, this guy was great.
Epic stuff coming, but we got some some teams to talk about first. We'll pick up with the Buffalo Sabres. We were just talking about them a minute ago. 91 points last year, only 1 point out of the playoffs. They had a nice little rush at the end. They haven't been in the playoffs since 2011 when they lost in the first round of Philly. 35-1 to win the cup this year, Merles. That number was a little lower than I thought. They brought in Eric Johnson, nice little veteran help on the back line. Connor Clifton, they signed a 3-year, $10 million deal to. Said bye to Vinny Hinostroza. Craig Anderson retired. Plenty of cap space if they want to do something. But this is a team biz. They're looking to take that next step. They got a lot of offense. You know, Tage Thompson, we just mentioned. Alex Tuck, Jeff Skinner, Dylan Cousins. Middlestats really coming into his own. The defense we've talked about nonstop. Devin Levi, I think, is the key to the season. Biz, go to you first on Buffalo.
I mean, my expectation is they're the Devils from last year, and they just have this massive explosion where all these guys together take that next step. And I mean, as far as the goaltending concerned, I'm not going to evaluate the performance from the other night against the Penguins after Sid got the boys going, but I would say that with split time, I would hope that Levi goes in there and has an incredible rookie season. I'd like to see him top 3 in the Calder voting. I'd like to see Owen Power take that next step. I know he was hurt a little bit last year with the boot on, but it's going to come down to this high-flying offense too. I mean, I know the coach, he lets them fucking go, right? Yep. And sometimes that's fun at the beginning of the season when things are a little bit more opened up, but come crunch time, the games get a little bit harder and you can't always win like that, right? So there has to be a fine line between this offensive flair and some structure. And once again, I feel like this team is ready to take that next step, but are my expectations too high?
Yeah, I just think with the way they play, Levi's not going to have that year everybody thinks. Like, he's going to be good enough. He's going to be better than they had. But when the way they play, they're so open. It's not for a goalie. He's like, they're not a defensive shutdown team. So his numbers will not be great, but he's going to make them win more games than they did last year, if that makes sense.
I think basically what you kind of mentioned, it's all about some guys making that extra step. It's like Peterka, right? A great rookie season. What can you add on to that second season? And you look at Middlestat, who really kind of finally had last year a solid season, a 60-point guy. Kevin Adams mentioned, I think he had 16 points in his last 10 games. Can you jump up even a little bit more? Krebs, right? He kind of had a little bit of an off year. What can you do? So it's, you know what you're getting from Thompson. You know what you're getting from Tuck. I think you know what you're getting from Cousins, but that's another young player. See what he can do. And then there's just the secondary guys. Jack Quinn. I mean, this kid is a sniper. Can he hop up to 25, 30 goals? It's just, there's a lot of question marks, but they're my Eastern Conference team. I think they're going to get in the playoffs. I think it's going to be such an exciting season around this team because of how they play. High scoring, high offense. But if some of these guys don't make the step up, it could be a fight for them to get in the playoffs. Even if they do play great, it's going to be a battle in this division, in this conference. So I'm very interested to see how it all plays out. I had something else, but I can't remember.
So Jack Quinn?
Yes.
What's his name? Yeah, he's missing, I think, a month or two. He just got injured. He blew his knee out or something, I believe. So he won't get your 30 goals.
Tough start there.
He is really good. He's a really good player. And now we just talked about Benson too. Benson, I think that's why Benson's going to make the team, is to fill his spot.
Also, we talked about it the last 2 years, but Jeff Skinner was ridiculed and counted out, and his contract.
Well, I mean,
was
he did sign that huge ticket.
It was and then he was brutal after, and it was a kind of a laughing stock of a deal. He's coming off 33 goals 2 years ago, 35 last year, 82 points last year. So I feel no reason that it's not going to continue. Obviously, he's got some sort of chemistry with Thompson and Tuck or whatever it is.
They have a lot of offensive weapons. I like when they brought over Greenway. They need a little bit of toughness in that lineup to protect those guys as well, along with Oposo. So I feel like they have a really well-rounded team where, from a top 9 perspective, when Quinn comes back, and if all of a sudden Benson keeps doing what he's doing, like, they have their top 9 is pretty filthy.
It is.
It's fucking pretty filthy. Loaded.
And they got, I mean, those two big, Power and Dahlin, like the way they skate, how big they are, how much minutes they can play. So the only worry is, and I was kind of with you. I said to Posh, like, they could be like the Devils. I don't know if they'll pop off that much, but in like a team where you're like, what an improvement. Things switched overnight. The only thing is, there's a thing called sophomore slumps, right? And they got a few guys. Every guy's second season isn't going to always be better than the first. So they're just going to have to battle through whoever is struggling and not playing to what they kind of counted on, the coaching staff wise.
All right, playoffs in a row.
I got them in.
What got him in, Biz?
I got him making playoffs this year.
Yep, and 3rd seed.
G?
I got him in. I hope if they get off to a hot start, Patrick Kane signs there. They still have $8 million.
I said that like 2 years ago, I think. Like, that would be the story of the season, especially if he comes back the way they're saying, lighting it up and feeling good.
Maybe he'll come back halfway through so he doesn't have to be back in Buffalo for that long.
Yeah, he's like, just give me a few months in Buffalo. Although you can't get cut off here. RA's proof.
Yeah, we got the full gamut of weather here too, man. 4 different days, 4 different fucking degrees. All right, Toronto Maple Leafs business team.
Oh, baby.
111 points last year, 2nd in the Atlantic. They finally got over that first round hump, but then they lost in the 2nd round to Florida. 9-1 to win the Cup this year. They went out and got some muscle, some gristle. Tyler Bertuzzi, 1-year deal, $5.5 million. Max Domi, 1 year, $3 million. John Klingberg to help out in the back end. Ryan Reeves, a little toughness out front. Martin Jones, a little depth goaltending. They don't have much cap space, really none, but they do have Muzzin and Murray's money. They could put LTIR of over $10 million. But, I mean, this is the same thing with the Leafs, Biz. Once again, we'll go to you, your squad. They're trying to get to the Cup final. They can't get there. Is this year they get over the hump? And are the moves that Tree Living and Shandy made enough to make them a top-tier contender?
I know what he's going to say.
No, I like this team. I do. I think, hey, I'm not even being an asshole. I think all of us have them as top 3 in the East.
I think they're the best team in the East.
I think they're
a great team.
I think they're going to win the Atlantic.
I do too.
I think that's a fair assessment. 3rd line center, this Holmberg kid. I think he's going to fucking take Pontus Holmberg.
Don't know anything about him.
Oh, he works his fucking bag off.
Can he move?
And he can move.
Can he
He's
skate?
a great skater. He's a great skater. So where it's going to come down to is who are these guys filling in the bottom six? Another guy, he got hurt in playoff last year. He's a big boy, this Nyes kid. That's going to be a big question mark. Is this going to come in and light the fucking league on fire? Other than that, we know what we're getting from everybody else. You know what you're getting from Marner, Matthews, Bertuzzi. Great addition on the top line. That is an increase from Bunting. Okay, I loved Bunting. I loved what he did. He's a little bit of a shithead. Come playoff times, I feel like the refs are so annoyed on him. He doesn't get any of the calls and doesn't do what he did in regular season. Bertuzzi, complete upgrade in that situation. Max Domi came over. I feel like him and Matthews are so close off the ice. They were at the Drake concert the other night. Why can't I?
It's just funny. It's like, we're just working on that breakout and that.
No, buddy, you gotta team camaraderie. It matters. Max Domi's home. His father played there. Like the buzz around the city. Like
there was rumors there were locker room issues this summer. They said they needed some locker room guys. I'm with you. Create some friendships here.
Friendships, team camaraderie. The boys getting together. It's a hard city to play in. You got to lean on each other during the dog days when all these fucking writers and media are trying to kick up dust.
Just looking to make something up.
Make up stories, make up all the bullshit, release their COVID test. God damn it, Simmons. I think the back end is a little bit underrated. I actually don't mind it. I thought McCabe maybe struggled a little bit last year in playoffs.
A lot depends on him and Klingberg because I don't think necessarily you can lock them. Like you love McCabe. I really love him. I don't know, puck moving wise. Top four, does he move it well enough? He's defensively strong and is physical, but
I think you would rather a better top four. But I'm saying, like, I think he adds that physical element with a guy like Giordano maybe not getting as many minutes. I like having a guy on the ice who's willing to protect the net front, like a Gudas type. Okay, I like those guys. I think it's a positive. And I didn't like that Hall guy had to go. Like it was just a matter of time. And hey, listen, I think he's going to have success. I think he's in Detroit now. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you become the Leafs fans' whipping boy, and I felt like he became the whipping boy, and that can be a very unpleasant place, and your game can continue to deteriorate. He's out of there now. They got Sandin out of there. I got the Lindgren kid stepping in. I think overall with Klingberg and his offense, I'm happy with where the D squad is at. Everybody's questioning goaltending. I think that Samsonov kid was fucking awesome in playoffs last year. I think they got him at a great number at this year. I'm confident about the team. They're going to win the division, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, the one guy you didn't bring up, and I'm talking about people stepping up their game in terms of Buffalo. This is the year Liljegren has got to bring it. And apparently in camp, he's looked awesome. He's looked like really assertive. He's looked better defensively, basically more confident is kind of what I read. That guy needs to take a step, right? If he does, imagine that D compared to what you're thinking now. And so I think, he was getting scratched in the first round, 5 of, I think, the 6 games, and in the second round, 2. But that's a skilled puck-moving defenseman. You need him to play well to get the puck to these guys. Because, Morgan Rielly does it, and I think Giordano's great at times, but you need some puck movers back there when these forwards are that skilled. And Liljegren can do that.
Yeah.
So what I would say is we always have talked, you love to call teams like vanilla. That's what Toronto was. The 3 guys right here on RA's list that they jam. Reeves, Domi, Bertuzzi. They're just jam. They're guys that are in there mixing it up. I love that. I want to see Klingberg. Just let him play the whole power play and let Rielly and Giordano focus on the 5-on-5 and 4-on-5. So I don't know. I know you like Rielly.
You're gonna roll the 2 whole minutes with Klingberg?
Yeah, just let him go. He's a wild card. He's all offense. That's his minutes. He gets 8 minutes of power play game, and then let Rielly play everything else. Don't worry about the power play, kid. You just shut down everything else.
You know what's going to happen? They're gonna be 500 after 12 games, and the fucking city's going to be losing.
And I'm going to be just like
every year it happens.
Loving life.
Every year at the start of the year, don't fall. Hey, don't take.
They always start slow.
Don't take the bait online. They might win their first few games and then drop like 3 or 4 in the row. They're going to be 500 after 12, and the fucking city's going to be ready to burn down. I'm telling you, it's happening. Don't fall. Don't take the bait, folks.
All right. Obviously, we all have Toronto in the playoffs.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. All right. Sticking in the same province, Ottawa Senators, another team trying to get back to the playoffs. They look like they might have got there last year, struggled with, I don't know, a little inconsistency, some injuries, but they brought in Jonas Korpisalo, new goaltender, picked up Dominic Kubalik in a trade. Another big signing, Vladimir Tarasenko. I think he kind of comes in, basically replaces DeBrincat, who they lost in the trade to Detroit. But go to you first on this one. You know, they got Tkachuk, Stützle, Giroux, Batherson. Unfortunately, Josh Norris missed all but 8 games last season, had the shoulder surgery, and he got hurt again Saturday. He said he's going to be out indefinitely to start the year. Exactly what they didn't need, but is it going to be too much for them to get into the playoffs this year, Ottawa?
Oh, this is the toughest one for me. I like the team. Exciting time. New owner. Steve Staios comes in. They have a team that they finally believe can take that next step. It's the whole thing we've mentioned. Buffalo, Ottawa, Detroit. What's going to happen? I personally think that Buffalo and Ottawa are a step ahead of Detroit. I don't have Detroit getting in this year. I think it's more likely for one or both of Buffalo and Ottawa to get in. I do love that on D, like Shabbat's an unreal puck mover, so you had him, but then Sanderson comes in and he's this good already. It's like, holy shit. Like they got 2 guys back there that can skate, can play offense, and can move the puck. That's the game now. So Brady Tkachuk is one of the top leaders in the game. I think we can all agree to that. Giroux looked awesome last year. Yeah. Can he continue? He's getting a little bit older. The one guy for me that I didn't respect nearly enough until even halfway through last year is Stützle. He is dynamic. He flies around. He's a complete sniper. I already saw a preseason game, like bar down, rocket wristers from the slot. He brings a lot to that team. I mean, he's their best offensive player. So the Norris thing's, that's unfortunate because it seems just like he's so good when he plays and he can't catch a break. What did they say in terms of how long it'll be?
Said out indefinitely. He's not going to be
starting. Man, yeah. After like all this and then camp and then this happens again, that's a big loss for them. Like they're not deep enough offensively to lose him again. If they would have missed him for a long time, I don't think they get in.
Shane Pinto still unsigned too.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what's going on there, but I do like their D. And Chychrun came in. Chick was sick.
Him. Yes.
So that's 3. Now, granted, they're all lefties, but Shabbat and Sanderson and Chychrun, those are 3 studs in your top 4.
Well, I think the biggest difference is in net with Korpisalo coming over.
He was awesome.
I mean, he was incredible in LA. Like at the end, he fell off because of the power play for Edmonton. So everyone kind of was like, "Oh, Korpisalo was letting in 6-7 goals the last few games." It's like up until then, he was saving their bacon. So I think that's a very underrated signing. You just mentioned the D squad. Adding Chychrun as like that 3rd competent defenseman, that is so huge. So all of a sudden, you have a decent back end, and if everybody healthy, much like we talked about Buffalo, plenty of weapons to go around. Like they got a lot of offensive guys.
Yeah, the goaltending's great. I also wonder too, it seemed to be pretty public that DeBrincat wasn't happy there. That can leak into the locker room, right? So and this, I don't know him at all, but he's gone. He didn't want to be there. He wasn't happy with his role. So maybe that changes a little bit of the karma within the room.
Who was the guy? Was it the guy?
I think Stützle said it. He's like, if you don't want to be here, then we don't want you here. And that's what, like, that's a young guy.
Whoa. So you're saying that was directed at the DeBrincat stuff?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we weren't just kicking that up because I know it was reported, and then I
think it was kind of obvious the way he said it.
Okay.
It's been so public that he didn't.
Well, he was on the internet, so it had to be true.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I was saying. When we said it, I saw a couple messages like, hey, that's just like shit that the internet's trying to kick up. And I'm like, nah, I'm pretty sure an Ottawa reporter who's like legitimate reported that. And then now you're saying that Stützle made a comment like that?
Yeah, I think they're a vibes team. Like Brady Tkachuk, like he's a vibe guy. He's a team guy. I made a horrible prediction when I did my predictions. I got them out of the playoffs. And I'm going to have to deal with this. I wish I could change it, but it's already in print.
So you got him out.
Ottawa team, I have them out. But I think they're going to get in.
What are the odds in terms of making playoffs for Ottawa and Buffalo? Are they the same? Do you know?
I can look that up.
All right, thank you, sir.
Let me know if you want them in or out of the playoffs, though, while we're thinking about it.
Gee, what do you got? Ottawa playoffs?
5 years. Brady Tkachuk has been in the NHL, 0 playoff games. That changes this year. I think they get it. I think the Vladimir Tarasenko and the Kubalik signing, they're both flying under the radar.
Like the smart money's on Ottawa right now, and I'm being blinded by the beauty of Buffalo.
Exactly.
Those blue jerseys the other night. This city, I just
if I pick them, that means I don't have either Florida or Boston getting in. And I
Merles, well, he balls it over. What do you have? Playoffs? For
I have Ottawa out, but I want to change it. But I already have it in print.
So I have Ottawa out. I also feel I'm going to regret my pick. That's the one team that I feel like.
No, I'm going in. Granelli got me with Brady. I'm
Ottawa to make the playoffs minus 125.
And what is Buffalo?
Jesus, God, Ryan, making me.
Well,
work
I did
here.
word the question with what are the odds of Buffalo and Ottawa getting in the playoffs?
Buffalo to make the playoffs, yes, minus 110.
So just a little bit bigger favorite for Ottawa. Okay. Wow. I got him in.
Yeah, so the smart money.
That means I got a team. All right,
I know.
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna figure it out. Merle, so in or out? You're fucking about.
Officially, I have him out.
Okay.
I don't like it.
Because I
Both
picked
got 'em
three
out.
from the. I think I have 3 from the Metro. So I think I have 5 to play with in the Atlanta.
That's what I got too.
Yeah. As much as I want him in, I got him out. I'm gonna.
What? That you're the pesky
I know.
Sens.
I know.
That's your team.
I know. But
You bet them to win the cup when they finish last.
I know. I'm still gonna bet them too. But yeah. 'cause
We
it's
did
tough.
mention mention Tarasenko too, right?
We did. Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, huge sign. But no, fuck it. I'll keep him in. I'm gonna throw some like a game time decision. I can't leave my pesky Sens hanging. Next up, Les Habitants, Montreal Canadiens. Obviously, they're in full rebuild mode right now. 250 to 1 Merles to win the cup. They brought in Alex Newhook. They got him via trade, then signed him to a 4-year deal worth $11.6 million. They waved goodbye to Jeff Petrie, Joel Edmondson, Jonathan Drouin, Chris Tierney, Rem Pitlick, whole bunch of guys left. They got a fair amount of the cap space, $5.5 million. They also have Carey Prices, $10.5 million if they need to go LTIR. Looks like just another year rebuilding here, Merles, basically. Marty St. Louis, I think he's just trying to get Suzuki, Caulfield, Kirby Dach, all these guys the experience because, they're not ready for a cup run quite yet.
Yeah, I'll keep this real quick. I have them out. They stink. Marty St. Louis, best guy in the world, great coach. 3 years away from being good, but I love Marty.
I think this is going to be ugly this year. I watched them in preseason one game against the Leafs, and they looked red rotten. Yeah, a lot of moving pieces too. Like a lot of guys coming in and out. They're trying the Newhook experiment. They brought Monahan in for his leadership. So I don't know what to expect. I don't know. I still don't know what I think about this Anderson kid either. Like, is he going to establish himself as a league top power forward?
Yeah, I just don't get why they keep him. He's the guy they should have traded at the deadline or use him at this deadline. Like he's already too old. He's not going to go with Caulfield and them on Suzuki on the ride.
I also feel they picked up that.
You need some veterans. You need some good players.
I agree with you. And
He doesn't play their style. Like
I know, but you need like he's a good player. Like you can't just trade everyone. It's like
it'd be the big deal selects.
I'm with Merles. It's a few years away. Kind of one of those things where last year it's like, why did Slafkovsky make the team? But now he's there. Let's see if he can because if all of a sudden he has a monster season, first overall pick, the vibes are way better, way higher because, you didn't see much. Granted, he's so young and then he got injured, I believe, right? So at least Cole Caulfield being back healthy, that's a big thing. Get him to 40 goals. Suzuki, I love as a player. So it's about developing these solid top end guys who you consider part of your future. But you can't just you can't go through seasons like season after season of being really bad. That's tough on culture, and you're not going to learn that much from it.
I think the most exciting part of their whole season is going to be if Wi-Fi is going to try to get the heavyweight title belt.
Oh, I think
he was ragged on
every
a couple
game.
guys last night. He had 2 guys at once. He was ragged on.
I think every game he's going after the toughest guy.
So you have Reeves in the Atlantic. You have Wi-Fi in the Atlantic, and now you have Lucic back in.
Somebody told me Reeves and Luch have never fought.
They haven't.
So, first Toronto-Boston game.
I think we're going to see the revival of the heavyweight title belt in the NHL this year.
At least the Atlantic.
That's on the spot hot take from Biz right now. 3 of them in the same division, and I might be missing a team that has another one in this division.
Not thinking off the top of my head, but I just want to say Caulfield was on a 46-goal pace last year. Biz, you know it's been since 94 since the Canadians have had a 40-goal scorer? Vincent Damphousse.
No way.
We're coming up on 30 years of them not having a 40-goal man.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Jesus, the whistles will be coming out in Montreal.
Also, too, last year they were 26th in goals per game, 29th in goals against per game. So injuries obviously a factor, but nobody here has the Canadians in the playoffs, correct?
No.
Okay, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at Max. Get into the game with the Bleacher Report sports add-on on Max. Stream select live games from the MLB postseason, NBA, NHL, U.S. men's and women's soccer, and NCAA men's March Madness. It's a front row seat to every thrilling moment, every amazing play, and every unbelievable highlight. Max is the one to watch for the best in entertainment, streaming 24/7 live news, and now live sports. BR Sports add-on included for a limited time with any Max subscription. After the promotional period, add BR Sports starting at $9.99 a month. Base subscription required. Sign up now at max.com/sports. All right, moving right along here. Next up, the Tampa Bay Lightning finished third in the Atlantic last year, 13th out of 32 teams. They lost in the first round to Toronto, 4-2, 20-1 to win the Cup this year. A couple new faces in town. Connor Sherry, goaltender Jonas Johansson, Luke Glendening, Calvin DeHaan. They said bye to a lot of guys, man. A lot of veteran leadership, too. Alex Killorn, Patrick Maroon, Ross Colton, Ian Cole, guys they won all these cups with. No real cap space, although they do have Brent Seabrooks, just under $7 million in cap room if they need for LTIR. But Biz, are the dynasty days of Tampa winding down? They've had a nice run. They're going to have Vasilevsky. He's going to be hurt to start the season. Is that going to put him behind the 8 ball or what?
I think that all this adversity early on is going to be something that Coop's going to lean on to motivate these guys, basically seeing that everybody thinks that they're done.
Mm-hmm.
I have them making playoffs, but I'm just so much more interested about this. Like, I love dynasties. I like seeing teams win like 3 in a row, but I also like seeing like the crumbling of it, like kind of like what the Patriots are going through.
Oh, yeah.
Like, is Belichick done? All this bullshit. So that's kind of what I'm invested in this year. I mean, you saw the Stamkos drama early on between him and the GM. Now Vasilevsky's going to miss time. So, I mean, I love it. It's a great story. I like their team. I don't think that losing that veteran leadership that they saw go away matters because of the core group they still have assembled. Like, I mean, you still have all the guys. You got the Points, the Stammers, the Kuches, and you know, Hedman, Sergachev, and Cernak. So once they get their goaltender back, they're going to be fine. That's too good of a core group, especially in a bottom, like it's a very weak bottom of the division, and they'll be able to prey the points off those fuckers.
All right.
I got him in the playoffs as well. Could be a struggle at the start, but my thing is Kucherov. Like, when that guy wants to, he is the top 5 player in the league. He makes it look so easy. He plays with an edge too. I kind of love that. I mean, he'll stick you. He's not at all floating around out there. I'm sure there's times Coop may think that, but his skill level along with Point and, like you mentioned, just Hedman and Sergachev, it's too good of a core for me to think that this is over yet. I don't think they're going to win the Stanley Cup, but I think whoever they play in the first round, it's going to be a hell of a series. Like, they're still right there for me. And it seems like when they get new guys in, now granted, they've lost a ton. Killorn is going to be a tough one. I think just in terms of like leadership and character in there with how long he'd been a part of the Lightning, they'll miss him on and off the ice. But they seem to be so good at getting guys and filling them in.
Replenishing.
Coop's able to like figure out where they fit in and where they play. So I like them to have a strong season and get in. I do have to get ahead. So I picked 4 in the Metro, right? So I only have 4 left. So I actually am knocking Ottawa out. I'm not having Ottawa make the playoffs. I'm not having Ottawa is out.
Oh, no.
Ottawa is out. Ottawa is out.
Just think of the fans and the new ownership.
As of right now, I have Tampa, Buffalo, and Toronto from the Atlantic. I have one more Atlantic pick. Yes, that means I either have the Panthers or the Bruins out. It's
so
great.
It's safe to say we're not doing a chiclet strip to Ottawa.
No. Maybe when they get a rink downtown, I'll head up there.
I couldn't tell you one like prospects that they're supposed to be excited about Tampa fans. Like, I wouldn't know one name that sticks out.
But we don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I'm supposed to.
I get it.
Supposed to have that.
I was more sending that out there to see if anybody had anything.
No, because they've traded all their first rounders every year for these runs. They always trade the first round pick to bring that guy in, but it doesn't matter. Brayden Point, Kucherov. You said top 5 player, one of them. I think they're both top 10 probably. Yeah. And then Hedman, I have as my favorite defenseman in the world, and Sergachev is right behind him.
I think Sergachev will be better than him.
Yeah, I want to say they have. I want to say they're like Colorado. They have 2 of the top 10 defensemen.
Yep.
Makar, Taves, Sergachev, Hedman.
But you're saying who's a better tandem?
They're just 2.
You're saying they have 2 studs.
Yeah. So you're gonna win.
Okay.
They're definitely in the playoffs.
Okay.
And I think they can win it again.
I would say maybe
with the rest and Vasilevsky, like every single person you talk to that's a goaltending expert or people that know the position, he's the number one goalie in the league. Like, they don't even question anyone else up there.
Who's Petro's D partner in Vegas?
What?
They have Theodore, Hagel, that decore's sick.
Overall, they're good, but you're saying a 1 and 2. Yeah, I don't think anybody's to the equivalent of Petro there.
Hedman. I like Hedman.
Yeah. No, I'm saying like as far as a tandem, maybe Theodore.
Theodore is pretty.
I don't think he was as dominant in playoffs last year to be considered in that top 10 conversation. I think
his numbers were pretty ridiculous
in playoffs.
Yeah, because I remember in
Hockey DB will tell us.
Please be wrong.
Tampa playoffs.
I do have them in the playoff. I do have them in the playoffs.
13 points, 21 games.
And Biz, they're the 31st ranked prospect pool. The Athletic has them ranked 31st.
Okay,
well, I don't think they have
wow,
prospect.
Smartest thing I've ever said in the pod.
Yeah, I mean, this is the
first time for everything.
The most well rested they've been in years, man. I got them in. I think they got enough strengths to overcome not having Vasi early. They'll tread water, and once he's back, they'll be golden.
And I think that with the Vasi injury, it sucks, but now he's going to be really rested and hungry to play. I remember when Lundqvist got hurt with the Rangers, everybody was all up in arms. But then when he came back, he was like rested, and that's when they went on their run. So he's feeling good. You know how it was playing 80 games? By the time you get the playoffs, you're gassed.
Considering Vasi won't let Coop pull him and plays 64 games, it seems like, I think that could be a good thing. As long as everything comes back normal and he's all healthy, ready to go.
All right, we all have Tampa in, and speaking of Tampa Bay, we mentioned we have Pierre-Cedric Labrie coming on. Just a hilarious interview. This guy, Biz, I wasn't familiar with his game.
I was
beforehand. You were. He come on, just an all-time interview. I know Coop was a big fan of his as well, so we're gonna send it over to him right now.
What a story! What a story to make it to the league.
All right, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at Chevy. Chevy has convenient ways to research and shop electric vehicles online. When researching, utilize Chevy My Way. Vehicle specialists and hosts give a virtual tour and help answer your questions. When you're ready, you're able to buy online by reviewing available EV inventory or build your own at participating dealers. You can do as much or as little of the buying process online with help from a participating dealer. You can configure finance and lease payments, apply for credit, upload documents, and finalize your purchase through our secure checkout process. You can even schedule vehicle delivery at home or at the dealership. If you'd prefer to purchase the traditional way in person, their nationwide dealer network is available to help as well. Learn more at chevy.com/electric. All right, it's time to bring on our next guest. This undrafted forward actually stopped playing hockey as a 17-year-old, but eventually returned to the game, then worked his way back all the way to the NHL, where he spent parts of 3 seasons with Tampa Bay. He ended up playing professionally for 16 seasons and won a Calder Cup with the 2012 Norfolk Admirals. We're very happy to welcome to the Spittin' Chicklets podcast, Pierre-Cedric Labrie. Thanks for joining us, PC. How you been?
Pretty good. Thank you very much for having me.
I like Nacho, though. I like Nacho. What a nickname.
How'd you get your nickname Nacho?
Who do you think came up with it?
Coop?
No, it was Bugsy Malone. You heard of that, right?
My God. Oh, my God. Oh, jeez. Is it because you like the cheese?
He did, yeah. No, it's it came. He couldn't say Labrie, so he'd start saying Libre, and I just stuck with the Nacho in front. And
okay, all right. Now it's all making sense.
Great one.
Yeah,
great
and the Brie cheese is also a good reference, and yeah.
He said you're one of the best teammates he's ever had, and you always bring the fun. No bad days for Nacho.
Oh, likewise, I was lucky to live at his house for like a month during training camp instead of like going to the hotel during the training camp. And oh my God, this guy just got me off like my shelf. Like he just took me to another level. Just elevate Nacho.
I think what happened was it was when he was going through his divorce, and you were living with him as probably 2 single guys, probably doing all right for yourselves.
yeah. And you know what's funny is he lived like in a gated community, and like for the whole month I was going through the gate because he was like letting me borrow one of his cars to go anywhere, and the guy at the gate was always like, "Hey Ryan, hi," and he always left me like going through and all this. And the day that I got sent back down to Syracuse because there was the lockout year, we didn't have a training camp, and I had to go back. That was the day I took. I came back with a cab to go get my stuff at Bugsy's house, and the guy wouldn't let me in. And I'm like, come on, man, you're not Ryan. You're not Ryan. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I've been living there for a month now, and you always thought I was Ryan. So I missed the plane. I got delayed. I missed the plane. I got like, everything was going wrong at that point.
That's not the first time you've missed travel. I got an insane travel story about when the team was traveling to Lake Placid when you like tried to book a fucking helicopter and shit.
Oh,
you got to tell this one off the hop.
Yeah, that one was rough. That was my send down, like last send down to the AHL. And I got back to Syracuse with my old teammate, Eric Nilsson. The guy's a legend. So what we did is we went to a spa day, and we kind of went after it. And later on, we went to the campus in Syracuse, which is kind of all right. And got back to the hotel, and we don't really know what happened in the hotel. But Neeler, when I swiped my key to get in the hotel, I guess like Neeler didn't follow, and the door just shut in front of him, and he kind of passed out outside the hotel. And they give him a room. So I woke up the next morning. I go to the lobby. I know I'm late. I missed the bus. And then I asked the lobby, like, have you seen my friend? And they're like, oh, there's a guy sleeping outside. We give him a room. I'm like, what room? Like, I need him. And then we end up like communicate, and we were like calling everywhere to try to get to Lake Placid, where like we had no clue where it was in upstate New York, Adirondack. And exactly, we tried to call like a private charter, which we couldn't really afford, and try to call helicopter. Nothing happened. So we jump on the Neeler's pilot, and on the way we go, and my phone stopped working, and Neeler had his phone like, and we got it on the map. So we're going in the right direction. And at some point he's driving, and he pulls his phone out, and oh shit, I just lost my phone's broken. I'm like, why? Like, what happened? The guy just peed his pants, and he had his phone between his legs, and God, he just ruined the phone. So like right there, we had to go the old way. We stopped, bought a map, and then I start driving, and next thing I know, I looked over Neeler, and I'm like, Neeler, is it a left or a right here? And he's with the map trying to zoom in, like Neeler, it's a real map. And so so yeah, we got there on time. No, on time for practice, but late before the hour before. And then Zettler put us a full cage on. So we had to battle one-on-one drills, me and Neeler with our cage on. And that's how we got punished. And it was all
wow, that's
fun.
What he made you do, is throw cages on, and then you could be like headbutting yourself?
Yeah, that's it. And then we tried to tell him like, hey, I think we really think we got roofies last night, and that didn't work. So that didn't go.
You lied to your coach about getting
yourself, Nacho. You roofied yourself.
That's probably what happened.
Oh, so you're from Baie-Comeau, Quebec?
That's it.
That's where you're originally from. So like what, obviously, I mean, if you're from Quebec, you kind of get thrown on the ice probably at an early age. Did your parents play hockey? Like,
yeah. My parents played hockey, but nothing like crazy, just for fun. And yeah, I mean, it was the same. You know who else plays in Baie-Comeau was Dave Morissette and Jimmy Bono. So growing up, I played with Jimmy Bono, and we actually like went all the way to the gold medal and the provincial Pee-wee double C. So that was our biggest minor league accomplishment.
He was a pretty tough guy, Jimmy Bono, too, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
I think I played against him in the ECHL. He was fucking nail gun.
He's nail. Like him and Mirasti had a few good one. He's fought them all, and he's pretty tough.
We always talk about the Quebec Fighting League, like the pro league over there. Is that just kind of how the hockey's played, even at a minor level? Like, was there a lot of scrapping going on?
We had some really big rivalry growing up between like our team that was like 10 minutes in just a different sector of the town. And that was like, that's how we grew up in a culture where like it was pretty rough between just the same town. Like,
Were you kind of shocked or disappointed when the Quebec League came out and said fighting is going to be gone? Because we were doing an interview earlier, and we were talking about this in the sense of like there's a lot of tough guys who came out of the Quebec League, right? And obviously the game's changed, but in your opinion, was that the right move, or are you confused by it?
I feel like for my kids, like I got 2 sons, it's probably a good move. Now I'm happy they can just like grow up and don't have to follow the same path. But I don't know. Like kids are gonna get in the pro hockey now, and they're gonna be kind of a step behind from the WHL, and I don't know. I feel like the ban is a little bit heavy on, like, they should evaluate case by case. Like there's always gonna be fighting in hockey. I think there's always going to be room for that. I think I don't see the full ban being a good decision.
Yeah,
to be honest. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point too. If guys are coming out of the O and the dub, and granted, college doesn't fight, but that is a little odd. But going back to your beginning, like, did you love the game from the start? Were you fall in love with it? Like always skating in the winter, outside skating, practicing, things like that?
Oh yeah, every day on the ice. Like at school, we had that program. Like, yeah, that's what kept me in school, to be honest. And
what was the program?
It was just like you go to hockey in the morning until 10:30, and then after that, school.
No way.
Yeah, and you had to keep like a 75 average, something like that.
Fuck it. How did you do that? Whose notes were you copying?
Oh, I had to like kiss babies and shake hands left and right. And
teaching that teacher's kid how to fucking shoot a wrist shot just so you get a B- on your report card.
That was my biggest battle.
Do you remember when the Nordiques left? Like, was that just heartbreaking for so many of you guys?
Oh yeah, especially on the east side of Quebec, where I'm from. We were all Nordique, more like, because Montreal is more west, and we were all about the Nordique and the Fosberg and Sakic, and that was huge for us. Yeah, I'm still believing that they're coming back.
I said, you know, I don't know if a team in Canada, there'll ever be another team in Canada. I can't really imagine it, but Quebec would be perfect. Beautiful city, passionate fans. They got screwed out of a Stanley Cup because that team was completely loaded when they left. So that would be fantastic. I just don't know if it'll ever happen.
I know it's tough. Economy wise is kind of down here. Yeah, it's tough.
What were the junior leagues like there? Like
the Rampart. They're killing it.
Well, yeah. So that's the Q, right? So that's major junior hockey. Did you have to play like at a lower junior level before you ended up going to the Q?
Oh yeah, I actually got sent down from the Rampart, the Quebec Rampart camp. I was the last forward cut, so I went to junior AAA in a town called Quaticook. It's like near Sherbrooke, and the first year was nice because the Rampart still had me in the plans for next year's, and in the next year when I showed up at camp, I got cut the last forward again, and now they're like, we're not paying for your billet anymore. So I had to like go at the corner store and just start crushing hours, midnight to 8 in the morning, go to college.
Come on.
Yeah, and then after college, practice at 5, go to nap, eat, go back to the corner store, sleep in the backstage, in the back store of the corner store. And it was like that till Christmas. And when I went back home to Christmas, I just quit. I was just like, that's enough.
That's how it all happened.
Yeah. I'm going to be a firefighter now on. Like, I'm just going to have a regular life. And the senior league call, that's where the call up happened. And I took my skate back from the shelf and went back senior AA. And it was a crazy league. Like, it was like a different, like, you can't even like you see what you watch Slapshot when you grow up, and that's like it's pretty much identical of that. Like, see bloods every day.
So
like,
were you having to fight grown men at that level? Is that how you kind of gained all your toughness?
Well, first game I scored 4 goals, so it's the hockey was okay, but the thing is, like, you play the first night against the team, both teams are going out in the same bar. And then the next day you're playing a back-to-back, so everyone's kind of hangover. So now the level of hockey just dropped. But then you got guys that get paid like $500 a fight. So like they just got to go to bat, and they just got to pay their debt too. Like
everybody's going after the guy who wheeled the only girl in the bar that night, just getting this shit pushed in because he fucking ended up getting laid.
Pretty much. Like the bar back then were buzzing too. Like it was a different kind of mentality. Like after the the village was, I think, 2,000 people in the village, and we probably had like half the village in the stadium. So it was jam-packed, and it was the thing happening. Like,
what was the corner store called that you worked at?
Couche-Tard.
You guys got some weird names over there, I'll tell you that.
But you know what it is. You're Paul Bissonnette. That sounds pretty French.
No, I know, but I'm from Welland, Ontario, and I mean, yeah, my parents were French when I grew up, but I lost it early on. But I grew up in Ontario. I have a very French name. Je peux le parler un peu. Ça fait longtemps que je le parle. Je suis rouillé, but it's all chopped up. It sounds like shit. I can understand it better.
Yeah, well, the Couche-Tard is like the 7-Eleven of the United States. Yeah, so that's
what they have you do, ringing people up, or were you stocking shelves?
He was eating poutine.
No, it was like I had to make muffin during the night, so at 8 a.m. they're on the shelf. And yeah, my coach started calling me muffin, and I was like, that's why I appreciate Nacho. It's like
way better than muffin.
Yeah.
So were you getting paid then?
No, just by the corner store.
Holy shit. So then obviously like that year you had an incredible year. Like you're scoring all these goals, getting tons of points. So in your mind, we were like, I got another chance here because of this. And then you went to the Quebec League the next year. Or did you still kind of think this is it?
Well, senior, usually the average age there is like 24, 25, going up all the way to 40. So I thought that was just going to be like my little $75 a game that I was getting paid in that league. But really, like what happened is I met a guy that played in Junior A Maritime in New Brunswick, and he's like, "Hey kid, you gotta go. Like you can't be in this league at 18. Like you're gonna miss all the good stuff." So he called the owner in the Maritime team, and I end up he paid my how do you call it? He paid my my rights, and I went there the next year, and I really had a great year.
Yeah.
And then the next summer, I worked at the rink as a summer job, and while I was painting the stairs of the arena, I was watching the Q team practicing during training camp, and I was just like, so the head coach is Eric Dubois. That was like the head coach of the Dracard, the Q team, and every time he was coming in our little kitchen, grab a coffee, I'd be like, "Hey, I think I can make your team." Like I'm just watching it from the stand, like painting, and he's like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, good one." Like just thinking, and I'm joking, and end up like the GM came and smoked a cigarette behind the Zamboni, and I'm just like, "Hey, I kind of want a shot. Like I think I can make the team." And so I end up like asking Pat, who drafted me. They asked like Pat Roy, who was like the owner and GM of the Quebec Rampart. My rights were there, and I asked him if I could go to the camp for a tryout. And so they took me straight up from the rink. I haven't skated all summer, and I just went to Rimouski and played against the Oceanic, and I did well in 2 games. I had a few goals, few passes, a tilt, and they were just like, "You know what? 19 years old, we're just going to go let you play one more year in Junior A, and we'll see what happened," And so I went off, and then the next year at 20 years old, I was a rookie in the Q. So that's how
Get the fuck out of here. What an unbelievable story is. So you were basically vouching for yourself, the GM smoking darts. And what's crazy is, so Patty Waugh was the owner of the Quebec Ramparts, like even that early on. And for those of you who don't know, you end up going on to marry his daughter.
Yeah, this summer we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Like, so when did you end up meeting her? Like at that time when like at training camp there, or like was this years later?
No, I didn't even know he had a daughter back then. It was just the two sons, Fred and Joe. I knew them. I started working out in Quebec City the year after my 20 years old, and I joined the same group as Fred, the younger of the two sons, and we had a few time together. But it's later on when I came back around 20. I think I was 24 years old, and during the summer after a season, he invited me to go have a beer, and I don't know, he's handing, like, he had a full plate of shots, and he's just handing shots, and he's like, "PC, take one." and his sister walks in, and here's another one. And we took a shot. And as soon as we look at each other, me and her, we start making out. And he was like,
oh no.
He was like,
this is for not playing me on the team, motherfucker. Tongue dart. Oh.
He was like, get out of here. You know, like, you guys, I don't want to see you. And I was like, all right, let's get out of here. And off we went. And since then we haven't left each other. And it was kind of crazy. First eye contact, really. And
wow. Love at first sight. I mean, okay, so we got to get back to that, but this amazing story of you vouching for yourself and end up getting an opportunity with this Baie-Comeau Drakkar team, you end up having an incredible team, 68 games. You're almost at a point a game. You were fighting. You had PIMS. Like, talk about finally getting that opportunity. You must have been a machine coming in that year ready to go.
Oh, like, honestly, like, it was like a do or die for me, right? You just got to the point where, like, you're 20 years old, you're a rookie, just enjoy the ride, but that's my last, like, stride. So I'm just gonna go all out. And every game I was so focused. The mindset was like off the roof, and it was my own crowd too. I knew pretty much half the people in the crowd. So, like, it's like playing in your hometown, where, like, it was one of the best years for sure of my career. Like,
did you feel like Rudy in a sense, like, because everybody was rooting for you, that you finally gotten this chance? Like, you must have been a local legend.
I think that's what the GM said when I asked him a tryout. He was like, "Okay, Rudy, like, come on, like." But one thing about the Drakkar is like it's a boat, right? So, like, every time you'd score a goal, you start rowing as a celly, and the whole crowd would be like, "Whoo," and it was just like push you to score more goals. You just wanted to row with them, and it was like out of the movie for me, like, insane.
So, like, when you're vouching for yourself and painting and trying to just get on this team,
and
like,
ripping butts with the GM,
yeah, you never imagine playing in the NHL, but that season in the Q, and then you had a great playoff too. Is that where you start thinking, like, man, I could play pro hockey? Like, I think I could do this. Like, this isn't going to end yet. Or were you still almost like, this is probably the last year?
Yeah, I think Eric Messier really saw something. He was the assistant coach to Éric Dubois that year, and Messier took me aside. He's like, "Hey, I think it's time for you to get yourself an agent, and you can use my agent that I had when I played." And so he made me in contact with his old agent, Paul Hamel, and really, like, we had 2 offers from Philly and the Canucks after that season. So I was like, the first contract that comes on the table was signing it. So yeah. The Canucks send the first one, and I just
AHL deal or 2-way?
It was a 2-way entry level Vancouver Winnipeg.
Was it Berkey who sent it over? Oh, you don't even know
English. I couldn't read English back then, so I.
That's what John Cooper said. He goes, the first time he met you, like, your English was like, it was basically French. You couldn't even speak a lick.
Hey, let me tell you a story about the first time we met. Okay, this is insane. Like, I just got cut off from my tryout in San Antonio. I'm 24 years old. I'm out. They're sending me to Vegas in an East Coast team. And that's why I called my agent, Paul Hamel, still at the time. And I'm like, "Hey, I cannot go to Vegas. I know myself too well. If you send me there, I'm done." It's like, no way. Like, I was already having too much fun in Quaticook back then. Like, I don't want to see myself in Vegas. And he's like, "Hold on, just try to stay another night or 2 at the hotel." And of course, the guy that took the job on the PTO was Eric Nilsson again. That's why I met the guy, the legend. And he just like, "Hey, come to my room. Like, I took your spot. Like, I owe you this. Like, come sleep at my room until you find another spot." And I'm like, "What?" And of course, every time I wake up, like, Neeler's pissing in a closet or something. Like, the guy's honestly. Anyway, so fast forward, I get a call. Brisebois, they lost Mitch Fritz at the big guy. Remember the giant?
Oh, yeah.
The monster.
So he got hurt at camp in Tampa. So now, domino effect all the way to the A. They're going to need a tough guy there. And I remember Brisebois asking me, like, "Hey, just so you know, we're only going to sign you for the tough guy spot. Like, And I'm like, let's go. I'm on my way. So I get there. I land in Norfolk. 8:30 p.m. Start walking down the street of Granby Street. And I hear someone knocking on a window from inside the restaurant. And I just turn over. I have no clue who this guy is. It's John Cooper. And he's like, come on in. And I'm like, I walked in the restaurant. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just looking for something to eat. And he's like, hey, I'm John Cooper. I'm going to be your coach. I'm like, oh, nice. Nice to meet you. And he's like, hey, why don't you sit down and have dinner with us? And he had his assistant there, Mike Flanagan. And I'm like, okay, I'll sit down. And, like, I'm just like, what's going on here?
Like, like how the fuck is a chance I met the coach randomly walking down the street? He said it's because
you had the pictures from your phone.
Yeah. He said it's because you had an Expos hat on. That's how he kind of he put 2 and 2 together. And he's like, that must be the new guy.
Yeah, smart man. And then right off the bat, I just wanted to go to war for that guy. From day one, I was like, I'm going to go through a wall for this guy. Whatever he needs, I'm the guy, And from there, we just built an incredible relationship. And today I can say he's the best coach I ever had, right? It's easy to say now, but even back then, he was the guy.
Well, before we get into all the Norfolk stuff, you did spend some time in Manitoba. I reached out to an old teammate of yours, Alex Balduc. And he says you used to ride your bicycle in the middle of winter to the rink, like because you didn't have a car. He said that was your transportation around Winnipeg.
Well, I was living with Luc Bourdon at my first year, and he got called up, so I couldn't use his car. So I had to find ways to go around. And with the minimum wage back then was what, 37.5 for the year, like. If you take the tax out of it, like I had to really I remember one day I was in a city bus going to the game with my suit and I had a homeless guy between my legs, like grabbing an old piece of bread and just eating it on his knee. I was like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, this is not pro hockey. This can't be. But yeah, no, most of the time I was running. The bike was probably like the old Balduc exaggeration, but
you'd run to the rink.
Yeah, I'd run to the rink. Yeah.
But at that time though, they hadn't gotten their NHL team back, right? So you guys were the main attraction in town. So it must have been a cool professional experience. You going from the Drakkar to there, and all of a sudden you're playing pro. Which I mean, it feels like you're playing in almost an NHL rink.
Oh yeah, and right off the bat at camp, I put 2 and 2 together, and I was like, okay, I'm the next one getting cut here. So I just start fighting kind of anybody every game.
Oh, really?
So like I put kind of a sticker on my shoulder pads of like the tough guy, which like I understood my role, but I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be the guy that just show up and fight. Like I wanted to play like I was playing in junior, but if you want to stay there, you had to adapt to what the role is. And that was the role that I was able to fill.
So at the beginning of that year, was it one of those 2 minutes per game, go out, get in a fight, and that was it? And you just almost had to prove yourself in practice a little bit that you could play?
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, you guys been there, like back in the day where like the rookies, like you had to like, it was not like today, like the rookies walk in and they get everything, whatever they want, right? Like it was, Scott Arniel was like, Scott Arniel was a hard ass. And I think today when I see him, I'm like, hey, thanks for being that hard ass. Like you show me the right way to do it. And Mike Keane was the captain. He was like 41 at the time. Like you can't get any better leadership, like in your leadership group. And I was playing with like Rick Ripien and Mike Brown. Those guys were like legit, like business. If they walked in the ring, they meant business, like, so right away, I was like, okay, this is what I got to do to stay. And I'm not going to be a skill guy here. And so that's how I adapt to the
I was going to ask you about Rip. Like, was he toughest pound for pound guy you ever see go at it?
No brainer. It's for sure toughest guy pound for pound. Yeah, he was just, I mean, sometimes you watch him fight. And I remember he fought that big defenseman in Long Island. He was 6'8", I think.
Eric Cairns.
Cairns.
Was it Cairns or Button or I can't. Anyway, he got split open right here. It was so wide open. And he went and got stitches and came back in the next period and went and fought him again with like his arm protecting his. Oh. And it was just against a giant for him, you know, and he was just going and throwing. And the guy was just an animal.
And then Mike Keane as well. Just like you talked about him quickly about his leadership, just like how cool was it to be around a legend like that? Because I think he'd played just over 1,100 games, and then he went back to his hometown to finish off his career for about 5 years with the Moose. So just probably awesome to just kind of learn the game from him and just be around him.
Yeah, it just gives you kind of a 3-step ahead of the next rookie that goes in whatever organization that they just don't have that. You know, you just know like so many things that goes on. Like, you know, those little details that, hey, what are you doing with your jacket from the Drakkar? Like, we give you a bonus, you know, that's to go buy yourself a new jacket. Just little detail like that at the end of the day, it just made sense, you know?
Were you a self-taught fighter, or did you have a tutor or someone help you out with it?
Yeah. One of my neighbor was like a boxer. So he was probably like 35 when I was like, I think I was like 13, 14, and I started boxing with him in the garage. And he just took me along for like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years. And that's why I was able to use my left pretty good. And that's what got me out of trouble many times is just start going left a little bit and surprise a guy. And so that was kind of what gave me the edge.
Like growing up as a kid, did you have a lot of street fights, or was that not your nature?
Well, Jimmy Bono was always trying to fight in a street hockey game. That was just, I still hear the voice of the parents opening the door front yard. Hey, what are you guys doing? Jimmy, stop. That's just like what kind of every street hockey, it was just Jimmy just starting a fight at the Royal Rumble again. Yeah, that was part of the culture in Baie-Comeau.
And then taking a look at your stats, I mean, they blew up when you started playing for Coop. I'm assuming he gave you a lot more ice time, a little more freedom out there.
Yeah, he trusted me. And just, and the thing is, he elevated everyone around. So, like, I remember when he put that piece of paper in the pisser early in the season, and Hockey News magazine put us, like, dead last or like, in the bottom 3. He put it right above the pisser. So every day you go piss, you see where we're supposed to be. And then you had guy like Palat, Johnson, like Conacher, that were not supposed to be where they're at today. And he just elevated them. And by Christmas, those guys just became studs. So these guys were like bottom 6. So for me, it's like now I was playing with incredible player on the bottom 6 too. So I remember Tyler Johnson just beat me on the plus minus at the last game of the season. Someone did a turnover. I ended up eating a minus, and Tyler was so happy, and I was so pissed at him. He ended up plus 33, and I was like plus 32 or something. And yeah, that was it. It was like an inside like competition about like, I don't know. It was just those kids, they got the best coach right off the bat at their first year pro. Like it really helps them. And you look at them today, like they all have been able to achieve a lot. Like, so credo to Coop for that.
You guys must have been having a good time playing in Norfolk, because when we were on the road there, that was probably one of the best American League cities, especially if you were playing in the East. Did you boys ever find yourself in trouble? Like, was Coop trying to wrangle you guys in?
Yeah, he first of all, he knew pretty much every owner of any bar. So there's nothing to hide with him. He knew. He was just kind of putting rules like, hey, you don't go out with all those kids. Like, you can do it because you know how to act the next day or whatever. You can, but like, I don't want you to touch these guys. And it was kind of a unwritten rule of like just respect. Like, so, but Eric Nilsson was always the one kind of putting himself in those kinds of situations. Like, there's one time he was the guy from at Halloween. He was the guy from Blow, the movie Blow.
Oh yeah, George Young, Johnny Depp. Yeah,
like, oh my God, he started like, we're at the bar and he had like powder cake on the bar, and he started like faking and he's like ordering rounds, and when the bills come, he's like, I'm not fucking paying, I'm fucking George Paul, like whatever his name was. And then now they call the cops on him. And when he's outside, he's still like, what do you think it is? It's fucking cocaine. And then now they call the old like drug squad, and he's getting inside the cops' car, and he's like, I know it's labs. Nacho knows all the cops here, so I know it's all a setup. And he's acting like it's a setup, but
he thought you planned this.
Oh yeah.
He actually got thrown in the clink?
Yeah, he got in, and they're all like, no, you gotta wait. We're waiting for the drug testers. And the guy was like, hey, come on, guys, it's like cake powder. Like, I'm serious, try it. Like, and the guys were like, no, we're not trying it. Like, that's it. Like, that's the kind of trouble that we were getting in. But we always got out of it without like any like real problem. But Eric Nilsson was like the number one costume guy, and he raised the level of everyone else to like try to beat him, but he was unbeatable. I can tell you another one if you guys want to hear that one.
Oh, buddy, keep it going. Let's go.
Like next Halloween, we moved to Syracuse, right? We won the cup, and they already planned it before we moved that we're going to go down to Syracuse, and next year we're switching squad, which no one was happy. And we decided to have like a team party in the bar, but with actually like real, like it wasn't our bar, like it was regular people in the bar. And Neither decided to be MacGruber, and he had that little skit going. Like he was like trying to fucking make a bomb, and people got so bored. They're watching the skit. He's like trying to make a bomb for like 15 minutes, and then people are like, what is he doing? Like, and soon as people don't pay attention, he's back in the bathroom, plugs a celery in his butt, and completely naked, hands on his ball. Sorry, guys, this is just a distraction. This is just a distraction. And everyone's just cracking up, and he's going around the bar with the celery in his crack. Like it was just insane.
Unbelievable. What's the story? I think Coop was telling me that like he was trying to make sure you guys weren't going out, and then you guys end up going to the beach. You got like a sunburn. You had to get IVs the next day.
Yeah, that was great.
What's that one?
Well, we swept third round of the playoff in St. John. And how it works, we were supposed to play 2 in Norfolk, which we won. And then we went to St. John, and we booked for 3 games down there, but we swept. So after 2 games, we just had like a full-on bender for 48 hours on the rock. And then,
my God.
You know how it is there, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah, it's tough.
Where Terry Ryan's from.
Potty Central, yeah.
Yeah. So whatever. We come back from the trip, and Coop is like hard on us, like no one at the beach. We're playing in 5 or 6 days. Like, I want you guys to like make sure you don't get too much sun. And we're like, all right. And now it's like, next thing you know, it's like 90 degrees out. And me and Gudas were like, we're just going to go and like longboard. That was the thing. We just longboard there. And next thing we know, there's a full on surfing competition. We're like, hey, let's go check it out. And then we go on the beach, and then the same photograph from our team is there. And he's like, hey, guys, come over here. You guys got to give the trophy to the winner. All right, sure. Like, so now we end up the trophy to the winner, and then click in the newspaper. And, of course, Coops bring it when we're stretching at the next practice. Brings it to stretch, and he just drops it on the ice. He's like, I know you guys went to the beach. Who else beside Gudas and Nacho? And we're just like, that was just us. No, I want to know who else. Meeting in the locker room. So we go in the locker room, and we're like, shit, he's really pissed. Like, what can we do? So I asked Chavi, the trainer, bring me some IV in the oxygen, like the oxygen tank. So he pulled the mask. I had the mask on. I had the IV liquid right through my vein. And as soon as Coop walked in the locker room, he tried to hold it, but he just started laughing so hard. And
what
that's
a move by you.
Yeah, that's veteran move.
That's it. We didn't have any meeting. It was just like, all right, fuck this. You guys are fine.
That reminds me of another newspaper story that somebody teed me up with. So you guys were, before you had moved to Syracuse, I think you were still playing in Norfolk. That was when Syracuse had like Konopka, all those like meatheads, Morasti, and you said some quotes in the newspaper. And they go out for warm-up with, and Konopka and Morasti and those guys, they have the newspaper and they're pointing to his quote stretching at center ice. They had the newspaper on the ice.
Yeah. What'd that was say? We were in Winnipeg. I was in Winnipeg.
Oh, you were in Winnipeg at that time. Sorry.
Yeah. And these guys, they had almost like the Trasher, like the Danbury Trashers. They pretty much had the same lineup kind of thing. Like they were so tough. Like even though I thought we were tough with like Ripien, Brown, McIver, we had all kind of toughness, but these guys were just on a different level of like. I think Konopka was probably feeding them every like pre-game, just like we're gonna be like a bloodbath tonight, and those guys were all buying in, and you could tell they were on the ice and they looked like hyenas, and Konopka was with the newspaper, and I'm like, oh shoot! Like again, my English wasn't really good in Winnipeg, and I was like, I said something stupid, and then they were chirping me like, "Who are you getting? Who's the clown now? Who are you gonna fight tonight?" And I was like, "Not Morasti. This guy can take 100 punch and he's still gonna stand up." Like
you're telling me.
Oh, you fought it?
Oh yeah, 3-4 times. Fucking broke my nose, broke my hand from punching his bowling ball head. We just had him on the podcast, but like you said, they were a pack of hyenas. They had Dorsett was there. They had I think Sugden was there. Marat, like they just had like 5 or 6 guys deep. And if you were beating them by a goal, it was fine. But then all of a sudden, if you got up by 2 or 3, it turned every single whistle was a scrum, and they were just trying to beat the fuck out of you.
Yeah, that was the old days. Like, I don't know. I don't remember playing that tough of a team after that. I think they were like the toughest team I played in my career in the AHL. That's for sure. Well, you had McDermott one year with you. That was. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a tough son of a bitch. Going back to Norfolk quick. So when the year you guys won the Calder Cup, you guys did set the record for the American Hockey League win streak. That must have been the best year of your life. Just you guys couldn't lose.
Like, it was ridiculous. Like even I remember I got one of my first call up, and like they were missing the playoff up there. So I was just like, hey, the whole like atmosphere was just bad up there because like they were going down and they were not winning, and I was just like, can I go back down? Like, can I just go back to the Norfolk Admiral? Like. You just walked in the rink and it was like everyone showed up with their longboard. So that tells you how much swag we had. We just like start kicking, and even we're in the rink and we're going to the locker room, we're still kicking, and we park our longboard. We had like 15 longboard parked next to the locker room. And right from there, it was just like, I don't know what, like really, it was just the bonding. I think like, I think the veteran and all the character guy we had in the locker room, they just everything was an event. We just made everything like a team bonding, and there's stuff that we can't even talk about. Like we won't get there, but it's like the road trip were the best. They're just the road
running trains.
Yeah. You know when you love getting on that sleeper bus, that's what was happening.
Hideki no Domo running trains.
Oh yeah, if you love getting on a sleeper bus, that's when you know it's a good team.
That's it.
Was it 28 wins in a row? Is that what the number was?
Yeah. And then the playoffs started. So
how many did you guys lose in playoffs?
We won the last 10, and then I think we lost 3 out of
total.
The
that's
4.
like us when we won the Calder Cup. I think we only had 3 losses the entire time. Or 4 losses. You guys beat us.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, it's still pretty good. 4 loss, like you're wagging at that point.
Well, so you did mention it. Like you said you got your first call up. Like, fuck, man, how did you find out? And at that point, was Coop already up in the NHL? Is that who called you up? So he wasn't. No. Okay.
He wasn't. No, he was still in Norfolk.
He must have been pumping your tires, though, to the coaching staff up there.
Yeah, like I remember my second call up was in Tampa against Montreal. The first one was in Montreal. The second one was in Tampa against Montreal. And that morning, I went to the rink and I'm like, hey, Coop, shoulder's not lifting. Like, I don't know if I can play tonight. Like, I can't even lift the arm. He's like, all right, day off for you. You're not skating. morning skate's over, bring me in his office. Hey, they called, they want you up. What do I say to them? And I'm like, well, I gotta go. This is like, I gotta go. And then I get there and he's like, just don't do anything stupid. Like, just do your game and that's it. Just punch in, punch out. And next thing I know, I rocked someone a little late, and then Stobitz came and
Brad Stobitz, he's a tough fucker too. He throws both ways, right?
Yeah, he started teeing off. He started teeing off on me, and I can't even use the left, so I'm just kind of. So next thing I know, I'm in the newspaper the next day, bloody face, and Labrie is looking for an opportunity, and I'm just like, shit. Talk about that was a good call up.
PC, when you look at Coop's record, I mean, the guy just wins everywhere. Like, what is it that makes him such a winner that, like, the players just, like, tune into him, listen to everything he says? Not every coach can do that.
Well, he brings a lot of swag for everyone, like swagger. And the other thing is he knows how to detect the guys that are not buying in. So he just doesn't keep them around. If you're not buying in, then you're out. So he doesn't really care who you are. If you're not buying in, you're going to go play somewhere else. So I think that really reinforced all right, if you're here, you better give your all because you're not going to stick around for long. So
would it take a lot for him to snap in the locker room?
Well, a lot of guys are using like intimidation to get authority. He's more like using his wisdom. He comes more like he will snap, but never like to the point where I would call it a snap. Like it's just, he tells the truth and it makes sense. He's never off limit, always respectful. So everyone respect him. He's kind of the new generation type of coach that the NHL like right now needs. Like that's the new adaptation.
Columbus might need one soon, or at least when we're recording this. But
Pat. I think Pat was in the run for that spot, and Pat Roy.
Oh,
and I think like if you talk about adaptation, I would say I was not a big fan of Pat the first couple times I met him, and of course I understand why he wasn't a big fan of me either. Like I'm going with his daughter. Yeah. But it took a while, and I would say the past 5 years, the guy did a full 180. Like he is no more the guy that you would think would snap if this and this happened. He has done a full 180. He adapts to the young kid now. I think if someone is willing to give him a chance, this guy could win the Stanley Cup once more time.
Fuck, you might get thrown in the will. You might get thrown in the will now for that little plug.
I don't know. I'm just like thinking who's going to have enough balls to do it though, because the guy comes.
He did prove it last year because the Quebec Ramparts, didn't they win the Memorial Cup?
Yeah, they crushed everyone too.
Yeah,
everyone.
Yeah, so he knows how to do it.
Yeah, and it's not like he has superstar on his team either. Like he didn't have like like Sidney Crosby or like Corey Perry that the London Knight had. Like he doesn't have those. Like he actually built those guys up. Like Malatesta, guy was like MVP of playoff, and he's going to Columbus right now. And I think he's going to be a hell of a player by watching him play last year. And who knows what's going to happen.
That would be such a fun hire for the National Hockey League right now to get Patty Waugh back in the mix. Wasn't it his first game in with the Abs when him and Boudreau were going at it?
Yeah.
Boudreau's like, hey, I'm just here for the fucking buffet, boys. Like, I'm not fucking here to go toe to toe with Patty Waugh. But I was gonna say to Rear and Witt. So first time I met this guy, I was in Arizona, and at the time I was just the out of the lineup guy. When I was in the lineup, I was playing 3-4 minutes, and usually I would get texts from the other team like, hey, can you help us out set up rookie party? And I think it was Teddy Purcell who reached out to me, and I set you guys up at the W, and they made all you rookies dress up for rookie party, and I think you went as Nacho Libre.
I did, yeah. That was like credo to Bruno Gervais.
Yeah.
Morning skate, he took me to Walmart to try to find a costume. We couldn't find a good costume, so we're like, hey, we're just gonna make a Nacho Libre costume. So we just start going down the alley and picked up like a red Speedo and blue leggings, and I think the mask was like a dog vest that we just kind of put 2 holes for the and we just ripped the bottom part for the mouth, and I put it on over my head, and it was like, oh, what a night. And we had
because I'd also known Bugsy because when I was a rookie at Penguins camp, I mean, he was there. He was the young stud. He made the team out of camp that year. That's when he was cruising around with his F-150, his Harley Davidson edition. So it was cool. Like I ended up hanging out with you guys the whole night because I don't even think I played that game. And then that was the days where I would be going to Wayne Gretzky's pad because he kept his place there and his sons were living at it. And it's a mansion down in Paradise Valley. And then after the club at W, we ended up going over there. And was that the night that Tom Green was there?
Man, I was on a different planet.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were.
All I remember was when I realized it was all Gretzky stuff on the wall, I was like, what is going on here? And then guys were going crazy. Bruno Gervais just jumped in the pool with his full suit on just because. I think he tried to push one of the trainer, but I warned the trainer right before, so he got out of the way. And it was, man, that was one of the best nights of my life, to be honest. And I woke up the next day and I got Sharpies all over my body. Like, I don't know. I was like, email address, phone numbers. And I'm just like, what?
Oh, God. Oh, what about this Teddy Purcell Dirty 30 yacht party? What was that about?
I mean, I was not supposed to be there. Couldn't afford it. And Bugsy and all those guys, they decided, you know what? We'll chip in for Nacho. You're coming. You're going to have a great time. Just hang out with the boys and enjoy your cup of coffee while you're here. And honestly, like, again, it's just something that I've never really did after that. It's just to another level where, like, hey, those guys are treating me so well. Like, I can't believe I'm here right now. And at some point, the sea got bad. It got really bad. And I don't know why. Me and Stammer, we decide, like, hey, let's go to the bar there, like on the beach. It's going to be cool. We'll grab a beer and have a good swim. And so we dove in, and it's further than we thought. Like, it's probably like 150 meters. So like we're swimming and there's a lot of wave. Like, and we get there, we grab a beer, and there's a lot of people watching the yacht and just like, that yacht should not be on the water right now. Like, it's going like, and we're like, okay, we should go back. This is not good. And so by the time we get there, the boat is just slamming down, and Bugsy just grabbed my hand and just like kind of slingshot me with the boat going backward. And I mean, we were kind of fearless because that is dangerous. Like, I wouldn't do it again.
PC, I want to go back to the call the cup run. You scored a OT game winner. It was 0-0 in OT. I had a little bit of a celebration I heard you put on after that goal.
Yeah. Teddy says that I did the moose. But I was just going like to the crowd, like, give me some love.
The Hulkster?
Yeah.
Like,
but you know the old, you know the old block shot with the two pads stacked like this, like straight up and bounce right in front of you for a breakaway, and just we were overtime. That was probably the biggest goal of my pro career, and just I don't know. I blacked out. I just shot like anywhere, and it went like kind of post in and. That's it. I think that's why I got my call up from, right there.
Say, you mentioned Radko Gudas earlier. And we saw him in the playoffs. Just an absolute animal out there, burying people. What was he like as a teammate? Is he crazy off the ice as well, or a little more quiet?
No, off the ice is just that gentle bear. That he's got that great Devers on his chest that you just want to kind of pet, and he is awesome. He's one of my best men at the wedding, and he flew from Prague. He missed he couldn't get on the plane the first day, so he showed up on the day of the wedding, and he left the next day back to Prague. Like, that just tells you,
wow.
Like,
loyal.
That's a friend, man.
Wow,
loyal. Yeah, through the spine. Like, this guy is just a legit. You hate playing against him. I get it. I've never played against him. A lot of people think he's a dirty whatever, but I would say this guy, you want him on your team any day of the week. Like, good for Anaheim to grab him. And I don't know, Florida couldn't sign him, I think. I don't know. He wanted to sign back so bad before the deadline, and I think he was willing to take like $1 million. And they were like, nah. And
really?
No.
What did he end up getting from, what was his number in Anaheim?
3.5.
I thought it was 4.
Fuck.
I thought it was
That's
awesome.
4.
Good for him.
4
Take the payday.
Yeah.
Take the payday.
I was just gonna say, when you went over to Germany, like, how did that come about? Did you like playing in the DEL? Like, take me through how you ended up over there.
Well, I took a job as a player assistant coach in Wichita in the East Coast League before going there, and I just wanted to get into coaching, kind of after career type of thing, and end up kind of loving it. But Riche called me, the GM of Berlin, and he was like, "Hey, would you come play next year with us? Like, we're looking kind of a little bit of toughness, and we'll sign you to a tryout. We don't know if you can skate on an Olympic ice." And well, I was like, "Yeah, I'll come on a tryout. Like, I mean, why not? Like, Germany, Berlin, capital of the club, you know, like, I'm going to go try it out," and end up having a blast there. It was before the COVID. So the second year kind of sucks. We won the cup, but it was COVID year. So we didn't have any fans. That kind of killed the vibe. But the first year was just, and the wife was great because she let me enjoy one club a week. It was kind of our little...
I heard the clubs there are on a different level.
Yeah. So like, even like, that's why the Blackhawks came during that year for just one preseason game to play us, just because they know that it's a good team bonding in Berlin. And it honestly, like, I would go back to Germany anytime.
Great fans over there, right?
Unreal. Just like soccer, when you watch the Premier League or whatever, like, that's the same type. They just sing the whole time. They're standing up. They have like drum sets and flags everywhere, and different level.
What was it like when you met Patty Waugh? I guess again, but he probably didn't. Did he remember drafting you when you like went and met him when you were dating his daughter?
So the thing is, when he drafted me the next year, the draft was in my hometown, Bécomo, and I was working as a server, like a water boy in a restaurant where they had a reservation, the whole staff, for the draft. So unlucky me, I end up with their table.
Oh, for Christ's
sake.
And
not one of them knew who I was during I was like serving them, and I kind of got pissed, to be honest. I was like, "Are they serious?
Drafted
like,
me.
Yeah, you guys don't even recognize me. It's only been like a year ago." So obviously I was like, "Well, good luck at camp." So I called my buddy, and I was like, "Hey, they don't know it's me. Bring me a t-shirt, jeans. We're going out tonight. Bring a 6-pack. We'll crush it in the parking lot in the back alley, and we'll get like," because the beer was expensive at that bar. And again, I was grinding. And so he brought the pack, and we crushed a few right before coming in, and we go to the pisser, and I'm in the last, like the furthest pisser at the wall. The head coach of the Rampart walks in the toilet, and I know, like, okay, no, I'm not having a high contact here. Like, but my buddy is starting to feel the buzz, and he's having the longest eye contact while pissing with the head coach, but he has no clue who that is. And the head coach is like, "Hey, would you just stare at your own dick?" Like,
oh no.
And Lirette just like kind of, "Oh yeah, old man, you want to take it in the back alley? I'll show you."
He's trying to go him.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh boy. I'm like, I can't even say a word. I don't want to be part of it. Like, I'm going to camp in like a month. Like, who comes in next was Alain Vigneault, because he was the head coach of PI, Prince Edward Island, the Rockets team. He comes in, loves the show. He's like, because he was a tough guy, right? So he was like, "Oh, you're about to fight a kid, hey?" He's just kind of funny about it. But my buddy's not laughing. He's just like, "Hey, let's go. Come on. I'll show you." And just kind of, I don't know. It's just and I'm just kind of, fuck this. Like, who walks in next? Pat Roy. And I'm just like, God, now he's the GM of the Rampart. So I'm like this on my side, like, and Pat's like, "Oh, what's going on here? Like, you want to fight this kid? Like, do you play hockey?" And Lirette's like, "Yeah, no, I played midget AA. I played a little bit like there and there." He's like, "Yeah, you want to fight? Give me your address, your phone number." And then 2 weeks later, he had an invitation by mail.
Your buddy
sent
did.
His address.
Your buddy
from
did.
That, from that beef.
from that bathroom beef. Yeah.
That's how you scout for fighters in the Quebec or the Quebec League.
Hey, then Nacho's like, hold on here.
Yeah, what do you mean here?
I'm a draft pick.
Did you pussy out or did you say something to him?
No, I didn't say a word. I was just proud of my buddy. You know?
Why didn't you say something?
I was pretty shy at that age, real shy. I haven't met Neeler at that time, you know, like so that's what I took it. But we drove together to camp, and my buddy just started fighting everyone. And he did well too. And I was like, man, they might keep you. And end up like I got caught before him. I walked out the office and I'm looking at him. I'm like, nah, not good. So he knows he's next. He goes in, he's pissed off. Then Patty's like telling him like, good job. But you know what? Like we already have our tough guy here. Thanks for coming and doing your job. And Leah's just getting up. That's bullshit. Like I fought everyone, beat everyone. That is bullshit. Comes out, slam the door as hard as he can, walks down and we go back on his car and we end up like back in the park. And when I got Patty over, like, I don't know, a few years later, I told him that story. He doesn't even remember it. Like, he's just like kind of, yeah, I remember a little bit of it. And then it kind of clicked. Oh yeah, that guy came at camp when he slammed my door. Like if my windows were, I was able to open the window from my office, I would have opened it and tell him to come back. I just loved his attitude. And that's just because of those sealed window, he didn't get the call back in.
That's an amazing story though.
Yeah, Biz, good. So good.
I mean, you almost got shriveled by him though. He almost took your spot.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Pat wanted me to do at camp too. He wanted me to fight, show him that I could. And he keeps telling me, if you would have shown me that you could fight, you would have made the team. But then at that time, I was just like trying to play hockey. Didn't know really like
hadn't clicked yet.
No, the senior league made me click.
So when you first went and met him, when you started dating his daughter, did he completely remember who you were from training camp and stuff, or like did it take some like, oh no, hey, and you reminding him?
I think he did remember a little bit, but not crazy. I think Pat, like when he cut someone, he just kind of has no emotion.
What was the relationship like early on? Were you obviously intimidated at a certain point? Did he finally open up? And I'm sure you got to hear all these incredible stories of his playing days and stuff. You guys must sling the beers now.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's really good. And to be honest, he's, like I said before, like he's become like an incredible guy, and everyone that I know of that played for him in the last 4 or 5 years, they all enjoyed it, and they all say the same thing, that like it's not what the reputation that he's built in the past. He was like always like a emotional guy, but the thing is, the guy is so passionate. Like when you have a beer with him, you start talking hockey, and it just goes on. You can go all night with him, and you just don't want to stop. There's so many good stories about him. And
like, what do you mean by that? Do you mean because like when he was a player, he had to put himself in the type of mind frame of where he had to be a killer, where like when he finally retired, like he couldn't really shed that, where he kept kind of being that dog, but it's like, hey dude, you're just like a coach and you got to maybe chill out a little bit now?
Yeah, I think that's what happened when his career was done as a player. He just kept having the same mentality because it always worked for him,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. So now when he came back from Colorado, that's where like he came back, took the Rampart again. And I think that's where I personally start seeing the change, and even with the approach that he had with me, and we just start clicking more. And now that like we're married, we got 2 kids. So obviously it took, I would say like 3, 4, 5 years before we really like hit it up. But he was in Colorado at that time too, so I wasn't seeing him much. But
when you did, though, it was like, oh fuck, like this guy's an intimidating guy. You just give you the dead fish handshake, not really communicate much.
Well, yeah, he was always busy too. Like I'd walk in the house, he'd be like scouting other players. Like I said, he's so passionate. Like he'd be watching the draft already, like watching video of like other players, and like whatever I would say, it was just not his priority, right? So I was just, we'll talk later.
Has he ever given you like his story of when he got yanked against Detroit and went down and told the owner that's the last game I'll ever play for the Montreal Canadiens?
I haven't got there yet because here in Quebec.
Are you kidding me? That should have been your wedding present.
Like, he's so mad. He walks behind. The coach looks at him and he just fucking, you don't know what he says. And it turns out he says, "That's it. I'm done."
Yeah, no, that's it's on the list. I'm going to ask him. But the thing is, he got so much like interview that they're trying to make him spit out like what happened. And they finally got the big piece out of him with that Uber commercial that he made with Mario Tremblay, the coach that was there behind the bench. And that was a funny commercial.
Oh, like, they did a commercial together?
Yeah, it did. And it was and they're both like ordering meals on Uber and they finally look at each other like all smiling. And so like that kind of fixed the old drama of things that happened so many years ago. But that's what I said. He would have never done that commercial back, and that was just another proven point of like, hey, this guy is actually like he's turning it around to the point where like people who still believe he has the same reputation as before, it's completely changed. So
do you think the only reason we actually got you on the podcast is to try to get to him? Do you think he would do it?
I honestly, I think today he would. He's got some great stories and he's open-minded and you just gotta pick him with the right.
Tell him I'll get him the Columbus job if he comes on the podcast.
Okay, that's a deal.
What's this story about you almost getting stabbed?
Yeah, like we're in Syracuse. We go play in Binghamton at night. So we have a morning skate in Syracuse, and some guys took an apartment like on the bad side of town in Syracuse. And you know how Syracuse is, like it gets a little sketchy sometime. And so it's like after morning skate, so the guy's going back to eat lunch, like it's 11 or 12. Enter the parking garage, which is like a gated security thing. Once he gets in, there's a guy that comes, he parks the truck, and there's a guy that comes in next to the door, and he's like right in the window, and he's just like dropping his window by just a little bit. And the guy's like, "Hey, I don't have anything for you." Like Ticker's like, "I don't have anything for you. Like, I'm sorry." The guy just started pushing the window down, and he pulled out a knife, and he's trying to dig in to Tokarski. And then so Ticker just jumped over the passenger seat and escaped and runs all the way to the elevator. And thanks God, the elevator was already like closing. So he hopped in with that old lady and just like closed the door. This guy's like, he's got like a bullet in his shoulder and he's bleeding. And he's got a knife and he's coming. And they just shut the door. It goes to the security and they tell the security, "Don't let the elevator go back up. Like there's a dangerous guy." And the guy just stole Ticker's truck and went on a high-speed chase like on the highway. And like what next thing we know, the guy like totaled the car, and I guess Ticker's insurance were not covering it in US anymore after a month or so because he's from Canada. And then so now Coop goes to the police station and help out with Tick and just like make sure they file all the report and paperwork. And so now we're on the bus already to the bingo, and we're missing Coop and Ticker. So the game start. So we go with just one goalie, and then we're losing 5-0 by, I think it was by the third period, but in the second, at the end of the second period, we just decide, you know what? Fuck this. We're going out like, just like, we're fighting everyone. So everyone started fighting, like GP Cote, myself, Radko started fighting. Goalie fought, and I think it was I gotta bring it back. That legend that was in Vegas a couple years ago. You guys know the goalie that was in Vegas a couple years ago?
Leonard.
Yeah, exactly. Leonard, that guy. He just like start pumping and feeding our goalie, and it was just an incredible like scene of everyone just fighting except the stud. Like you have like Palat, Conacher, again, like Johnson, Panic, and all those studs that were like, okay, so they kicked out half of both team out, and Tokarski show up with Cooper, enter the net in the third period, and we end up coming back winning in overtime.
Come on.
Yeah. 6-5, and Ticker got the win, just almost got stabbed to death. And
that is such a morale boost. Like, that is, the bus ride home must have been unreal. Did you guys stop and get beers and everything?
Oh, you know it. And oh yeah, that's just one of those, another story of like the crew we had, because it was pretty much the same crew that we had in Norfolk the year before, and we just kept rolling that year. I end up after the lockout going back to Tampa, and they end up losing in final against GR. So they would have pulled the back-to-back. And the thing is, they didn't send me down for the playoff. They didn't send Killorn, who was like a bigger asset than me. But if they would have sent Killorn down, I think that would have helped them to get through Grand Rapids.
That is so good. That is such a good story.
PC, after Germany, you came back for 2 more years, but your very last contract was from Tampa Bay. The 2-way deal was that kind of like maybe like a thank you from the organization. I think you were 35, 36 years old at that point.
Yeah, no, I think that's how I took it, and I was on a PTO in Hartford, and I show up there at the very last day of training camp in Hartford. So I had one practice, and next day was a game opener. And I got my PTO, and at Christmas, I had offer to go back to Europe for multiple years because I had a really good start in Hartford. So that kind of put me back in the loop. But then once they let me kind of call other team in the A, then Syracuse kind of popped in, and they were like, hey, if you want to come back here, we're almost dead last of our division. We could use your kind of role and mentorship. And so I decided to go back because of just being loyal to who actually put me in the show. And I end up having like a really good group of guys that we battled back to the second place of our division. And it was fun. It was fun to go back.
What, I don't even remember the start of the interview now. It's been so long we've had you on. What are you doing now post-career?
I took a job at college, really 5-10 minutes away from my house. It's a Division I AAA college team. So it's below the Q. So a lot of kids don't want to go to the Q team. They want to keep their eligibility to the NCAA. So I'm dealing with a lot of smart kids that they have a really good score at school. So their focus for hockey is there, and yeah, that's the Lions, St. Lawrence Lion, and I got kind of a really good timing to get in there, and for me it's just grabbing experience right now. It's just head coach and hockey up. So there's a lot on my plate. There's just not just the practice and coaching a hockey team. There's the sponsorship and all this stuff that surround the team that you got to organize. We're trying to get a showcase right now to go in either Boston or Lake Placid, and we just want to do a fundraiser to send the boys to go and show their true color to the NCAA or whatever scout that might be there.
Maybe Big Deal Brewing can throw in a couple bucks, sponsor the boys a little bit. Maybe send you guys a few cases of beer too. I don't know if we can get it into Quebec yet. I'll have to ask, but maybe we could do a special little shipment. We'll send RA up there with a truck. He's used to shipments. I don't know if he can cross the border manager.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Really? That'd be nice.
Yeah. He doesn't know how to sharpen skates, but he'll figure it out.
No. So we bought the Spark, so that's good. We're fine.
I would love to help you out though. If you got some teams around Boston, I could reach out to people I know, maybe set something up. And I guess as the head coach too, if you got some nice players, you're gonna probably be talking to some college coaches, trying to help these kids out, get recruited, and go and play college around here.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're kind of trying to build, rebuild the program. Since COVID, it was kind of let down. And now we're just kind of trying to put the program back on the map. And it's an English college. So they take our credit to the university in United States. So that's one of the good perks that we have for the kids that wants to join the NCAA, D3, D1, whatever is best for them. And yeah, if you guys know a good showcase in Boston, or in the first week of January, just send me the options and we'll sign up.
I'll ask around for sure.
that'd be great. Yeah.
Hey, congrats, man. Congrats on an unreal career, on getting married this summer.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's such a great story, man. And we appreciate you sharing this with us. I know it's been a long time overdue to get you on, but from first meeting you with the Nacho outfit on till now, buddy, no bad days, man. That's for sure.
No bad days. I always love seeing you like walking around like anywhere, like just you got a good vibe, Biz. It's people feel it. It's fun to be around.
I love you, buddy. I love you.
Yeah,
and,
same.
Tell Patty Waugh if he plays his cards right, maybe we'll get him on sometime.
Yeah, okay. I'll put him up next.
Hey, PC,
right,
thanks so
buddy.
much, man.
See you later.
This was
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, you guys are welcome. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at Straight Talk. A new Straight Talk wireless offering is now available, where you can get a Walmart Plus membership included on select Straight Talk wireless plans for free. Only Straight Talk Wireless gives you unlimited data, talk, and text, plus a Walmart Plus membership included on select plans for free. Some of the perks of Walmart Plus through select Straight Talk Wireless plans are free delivery from Walmart stores, free shipping, no order minimum, Paramount Plus membership, member prices on fuel, got to get those gas savings. Straight Talk Wireless is available at Walmart and walmart.com. Huge thanks to PC for jumping on us, man. Just great stuff, funny stuff. How long you known him for, Biz? You guys go way back? Or?
I met him at the Tampa Bay Lightning rookie party that I helped set up and brought Bugsy Malone, St. Louis, and crew. I think Vinny LeCavalier was there. They dropped about 25 G's at the W Scottsdale. And at that time I was hanging out with the Gretzky boys. And because Wayne hadn't sold his house there from being the head coach, they lived in it, the mansion. And we brought them over there for the after hours. And I got chatting with Labrie, and what an absolute fucking character. Mind you, he was dressed like Nacho Libre the whole night.
Yeah.
I think he had Sharpie all over him. The guys have been drawn all over his face, drawn dicks all over him. So it was a fun night. And like you guys said before the interview, just an incredible story of how he never gave up and eventually found himself in the NHL.
I think one of the most interesting things from that interview, we kind of got swept under the rug, is that he said that Patrick Roy almost got hired by the Columbus Blue Jackets to start the season. They went with Babcock instead. So
wait, did he say that he interviewed for the job? Did he go into that much detail?
Yeah, and he said that he thought he was going to get the job.
And with what he did with Quebec, and in terms of how Labrie and many others have said, he's kind of changed maybe
he said it, I think,
psychotic
20
he is a little bit.
I think he said it 20 times.
I think we could see him in the NHL coaching again.
I think that
Quebec keeps lighting it up, and
I think after listening to Labrie, it seems like he's trying to reestablish his image.
He's doing some meditating, maybe like you.
I don't a lot of good breathing exercises. But I would imagine with him wanting to get back in the league and emphasizing that he is a changed man. I mean, we're talking about maybe a guy with a little bit of a temper on him. We're not talking about somebody who did anything like that wrong other than challenge Bruce Boudreau to a fight at center ice mid-game. So, yeah, I'd love to see him back in the league.
People forget Patrick Roy is the reason everybody pulls the goalie so early now. He was the first guy. He started pulling him with like 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
And then they went into the analytics of it. So us gamblers looking for puck like Gina's and over. We like that.
That's why you want him back in the league?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
He might start pulling him earlier.
A lot of happy over bettors when he was coaching, Burroughs, for sure. All right, this week, it's got definitely an old man yelling at the cloud here. Biz grinding my gears, brought to you by BigDealBruin.com/finder. And me and Memes were talking yesterday when the Ottawa Godfathers, the name come up, and it reminded me of one of those things that absolutely drives me crazy as a movie nut when people say The Godfather Part 1 or Jaws Part 1 or Rocky Part 1, dude. I know it's weak. Nothing. Hey, that means it was a good week for me, Whit.
Well, you don't remember most of the week, but fair enough.
I was like a few hours the other night. Just it drives me nuts, Biz. Like
Why?
Rocky Part 1. You know,
Why does it drive you so nuts?
because it's not the name of the movie.
Rocky.
It's Rocky. It's not Rocky Part 1. It's not The Godfather.
Do you
Part
clench
1.
your fist when somebody says it like you want to punch them?
No, he scratches his bum.
Yeah, I get knuckles deep up the old cornhole there. Yeah, like I said, we had a very happy week. Nothing to bitch about. I know, like, what's he whining about this week? But yeah, it's just that one of my real old school pet peeves is people like calling like the first movie in a chain of movies with the fucking pop.
I think that's going to irritate a lot of people, and I can't wait to read the comments.
Love it. once again brought to you by BigDealBrewing.com/find. We enjoyed quite a few of those this weekend, bros.
I love the Big Deal Brew. I brought an empty suitcase here, and I'm just filling it up with Big Deal Brew to bring back. And like, this is not an ad read. I'm honestly.
Your wife's like, no gift for the baby. It's like, oh, there wasn't enough room.
He's got a big deal in his bottle. All right, moving on. The Boston Bruins last year, one of the most disappointing postseasons in team history after rolling out to a record-setting regular season. They gagged in the first round. Then they lose Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci to retirement. Had to trade Taylor Hall for cap reasons. But they still got Pasta, Marchand, McAvoy, Lindholm, Ullmark, Swayman all back. They brought in Lucic, JVR, and Shattenkirk, short money replacements. Gee, it looks like this kid, Matt Patra, is going to stick with the big club after a very impressive camp for the 19-year-old forward. I don't think they're going to have a cakewalk to the playoffs this year, Whit. What do you have the Bruins doing? Do they even make it?
So I have them in. So yes, that means I have the Panthers out. I have the Bruins in. I look at a ton of worries, a ton of maybe things to panic about. But then I look at the defense and the goalies. Yeah. And for me, it's like the longevity of the season and Montgomery. Now, granted, it was 1 year and it was this incredible, wild, legendary run in the regular season. I think that he's able to at least get this team to play a certain way, and he knows how they need to play to win. So while losing Krejci and Bergeron is just kind of nightmare fuel up top, not to mention Bertuzzi and Hall, they have that core of solid D-men and two great goalies, not just one. The worry is, and now, Marchand and Pasta, lock them both up for what, 80 to 95 points. I don't know if Pasta goes on the run goal scoring wise they did last year. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get 40 to 50. So those two guys, you know what you got. Then we talk about Zacha and Coyle down the middle. That's like just such a drop off in terms of what they had. The worry is like, I think those guys can play. I think Zacha, Pasha can't stand him. I think that guy's a really good player. First line's a huge step up.
I think the comments were that he'll disappear for like a 5 to 7.
And he was able to do it last year where he played. And now this year he can't. My thing is with this team, if there's any injuries up front, they're fucked. Mm-hmm. There's no depth there. And now is it what's the kid's name? Poitras?
Patra.
Patra, yeah. Wow, okay, I kind of like that more than Poitras.
Matty P.
Patra. So if you all of a sudden have this kid step in and like nobody even thought about him, who knows, right?
Bruins always seem to get a guy like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, who would have imagined Pasta would have done what he did?
Yep.
Like Pasta was a high pick though.
No, he fell to the end of the first round.
End of the first round of
14.
No,
like
was
that McAvoy?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But even
this kid was early second, right?
Even a guy like McAvoy mid first round, like those are fucking.
I know.
Yeah.
People
Marchand was not like a big deal coming in.
You're right. But the Bruins drafting hasn't been great. But if this Patois lights it up, all of a sudden that's a little heat off Don Sweeney and his drafting.
A little bit, yeah.
So considering nobody even said anything about him, but he lit up the OHL. I mean, this kid, it looks like one of those things where he's definitely getting the look at the beginning of the season. And in terms of what I saw and what I've read, I don't know how much he has left to give in the OHL, right? So it's like it's hard for them to send him back, right? He would be going back.
He would be going back. He was 4th in the OHL last year in points. He led the team, the Bruins, in the preseason this year in points. He's been playing with Marchand and DeBrusk on that top line. All signs point to the Bruins finding their number one center and Matty P.
Ooh.
I'm all in on this kid. I fucking love him. It's a bridge year too for the Bruins. I like the Bruins a lot this year. I think they make the playoffs, but there's a lot of exciting things about this Bruins team where you still have Pastrnak, you still have Marchand, you still have McAvoy, but there's a lot of kids now that they can insert in the lineup, which that hasn't happened in years for the Bruins. It's always been veteran teams. Mason Lerai, this kid out of Ohio State, Johnny Beecher, the first round pick from Michigan, and then you have like guys like Fabio Vassell too. Like it
would suck if last year happened and you didn't have anything to look forward to, but I'm going to say they make playoffs, but just on a cultural standpoint. Like they didn't lose enough to like not understand how to show up and be a Bruin and how to carry yourself. They have enough weapons. You summarized it perfectly. I love their defense, love their goaltending. Their wings are fine. My concern, obviously, with the middle of the ice is just sustainable offense. Like last year when Coyle and throughout his time with the Bruins, when they've lost Bergeron or they've lost a top guy, he's stepped in and played awesome. Like last year,
playoffs too.
Last year they didn't have him. I want to say the big boys in games like 2, 3, and
3 and 4, and that was the best games they played.
And I think he contributed. I think he scored a goal and he stepped up. But to do it over the course of 82 games with having to like play his game, which is kind of a shutdown center role, but also put up 65, 70 points. I don't know. Maybe with playing with better wings and better players, that's going to happen. But I don't know, man. It's hard to turn that third line checker type guy into all of a sudden a 20, 22-minute guy.
Little interesting tidbit we found out this weekend, though, is remember we interviewed Alex Tuch a couple of years ago, and he said this guy completely like reinvented his skating style. Well, he told us the other day that Charlie Coyle has now gone to this guy and he's working on.
I was there when Coyle came. I was working with him.
To be able to maybe keep up at those top speeds.
Apparently, that's what Tuch was saying. So it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, it was a guy I worked with, Francois Mathot in Rochester. Charlie came out and worked with us. I don't think I'm much help for him. But anyway, Bruins, you got Montgomery, you got Pasta.
Yeah.
Julia. I got them in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I can't go against
Julia.
I don't want his agent coming after me if we don't have him in the playoffs.
Julia came over to me. He said, "Wick, can you do this like little ad for Pink Whitney during Chicklets Cup?" So I did it, and then she walked away. I'm like, "Thanks, Julia." And this kid's head snapped. He goes, "That's Julia? That's Julia?" I go, "Yeah, that's her." He's like, "Holy shit, where's Pasta?" I don't think the kid had ever, put a face to her name. So it was funny.
Yeah, they're in. Monty's the man. He wins wherever he goes. He'll get him in the playoffs, and who knows?
Yeah, we all have men 16-1 to win the cup, and Morgan Geekie was another guy meant to mention that they added as well. Next up, the Detroit Red Wings. The Isa plan kind of stalling a little bit. Haven't been in the playoffs for a while here.
Already taking shots at the big man.
I know.
What do you have to say about this, Whit?
Can't believe it. That's my guy, all right.
75-1 to win the cup. They got 5 and change for cap space. A lot of guys came and went. They brought in Alex DeBrincat in the trade, JT Confa, Jeff Petrie, Shane Gostisbehere, Klim Kostin, Justin Hull. They said bye to Dominic Kubalik, Philip Zadina, Pius Suda, Alex Jason. Whole bunch of personnel changes. We're going to bring in the memes man. He's the requisite Red Wings fan in the building. What do they do this year? What's their problem, memes? What do the Red Wings need to do to get back to the glory days?
Hello, everybody.
What's up, Memesy?
What's up, boys?
Is this your first time ever on the podcast?
This is the first time. I was on Game Notes, but this is the first time.
You were in the Mindsies.
What do you mean? You're only on Game Notes.
Yeah, this is his real accent, folks. He ain't fucking around.
Is there anybody in or London, Ontario you want to shout out right now? That's your hometown, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll shout out Rick. He lives in there now.
Couple milfs I know from the main street down there.
Yeah. I'll just shout out Rick. Keep it clean.
What do you think of the Red Wings, Memesy?
I had them sneaking in the playoffs. Like, that's why I was going to come in. And then, like, you guys started listing off, like, all those teams. I was like, all right, they're not making playoffs. It's going to be, they'll be second last place again, but it's a marathon. Like, the eyes are playing.
Yeah.
So you're confident where he's going?
Oh, yeah, it's Stevie Y. He's building Tampa 2. 2.0 Tampa.
Yeah.
Print the D's.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they need about a 12-point improvement, Merles, to get in the playoffs. Do you see Detroit doing it, or they still got to chug along a little bit?
No, yeah, I really like Detroit. I was big on him last year. The goalie that they got, Husso, they took him from St. Louis. I thought he was going to be
Stole him.
better.
Yeah, Yzerman had a private investigator follow Armstrong around. And he had something on him.
And he didn't do well. So if he does better, I think they got some great young prospects. All these Swedish guys. This Edvinsson, I don't know if he's going to make the team. Big lefty D. We know Seider. We interviewed him. He's a Norris candidate. I love Detroit, but there's just not enough room to get them in the playoffs.
Yeah, tough. Biz?
I want to know, Memesy, what do you think about their forwards?
Raymond, he'll get plus 30 goals.
Okay.
I think.
That's
Big bounce back year for him.
That's a future.
Yeah.
He had a tough second season.
Hall for Norris.
I would have to argue with that because now DeBrincat's going to be on that spot now in the power play where he was picking up the goals. So now it's
no, he'll still be maybe bumper guy. He's got to be on the first unit, Raymond. I would.
Yeah,
think.
I know, but he's not going to get those same goals he got last year, I think.
Memesy, what do you make of the rumors Patrick Kane's coming over?
Is it weed league? All right, he doesn't smoke weed. I was thinking of Steve Y. Sorry.
No,
I think
memes just
about Hall. Like we have like a bunch of buddies that are Leafs fans, and like we always like grilled them about Hall. And then as soon as Wings picked him up, we're like Hall for Norris. Like one buddy bought a Hall jersey right away.
So he was the whipping boy in Toronto.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you guys were giving it to him.
yeah.
Okay.
What do you got in the wings, buddy?
I think you're going to see a step up to Brinkat. I think you pencil him for 35. He's gonna get that chance that he wanted in Ottawa of all the first line ice time and all the first power play stuff. Seider's going to need to make a step up after that monster rookie season. I don't think he was bad last year, but just it's just hard, right? It's your second year. You think it's going to be a little easier, but I still think Norris Trophy ceiling for him. The goaltending is a little bit suspect, I'd say. I just don't necessarily look at, like when I'm looking at Boston being one of those teams fighting for a playoff spot and I look at their D and goalie compared to Detroit, that's for me just a no contest. So I just don't think there's enough depth there. I'd love to see what Larkin does. It seems like he just continues to get better. He's got the long-term deal now. There were some serious question marks last year on that, so that's definitely a bright thing for them. It's about seeing what guys could step up and make a difference in their second or third season. I don't think there'll be enough there to get in the playoffs, but I do think it'll be an improvement on last year. I mean, they were considered probably out of it with 3 weeks to go.
Yeah.
What happened was it was that back-to-back with Ottawa, and it was right before the deadline, and Ottawa shit pumped him at home and then shit pumped him on the road, or it might have been vice versa, but it was two. And Yzerman came out and said after, why would I try to add to, I'm paraphrasing, why would I try to add to get this team in the playoffs? Like those two games, they weren't even contests. We didn't even show up. So you got to think that this year, in terms of like competitiveness, things will be better. Guys are a little older. I just don't think enough's there yet to get in the playoffs.
All right, G, Detroit, in or out?
No, they stink.
All right, Biz, I'm not sure if we got an official answer. But
no.
Okay. All right, sorry, Newsy. I wish I could pull for. I'm still pulling for you, buddy, but I don't have you in this year. But I think they'll be in the mix late. I just don't. They're going to get squeezed late.
Do you have a hot take for the year? One hot take for the Detroit Red Wings?
No, but I have Oilers winning the cup.
Thanks, buddy. Me too. Me too, Memesy.
Hey, because they lost the last 2 years. They lost Avs in Vegas, and so now they're winning it.
Okay. Thank you, Memesy.
Great job, Memes.
All right,
Great job, Memes.
Thanks, buddy. All right, last but not least, the Florida Panthers. Of course, they went all the way to the Stanley Cup final last year before losing to Vegas. 16-1 to win the cup this year. They got some new faces in town: Dmitry Kulikov, Mike Riley, Nico Mikola. OEL may be reviving his career a little bit down there. They did say bye to Anthony Duclair. Radko Gudas, going to miss him on the back end. Mark Stahl's gone as well. Not much for cap space, but I think they have some LTIR if they need to use it. Surprise of the season last year, Biz. They're not going to creep up on anybody this year. Offense returns largely intact. Kachuk, Barkov, Reinhardt, Bennett, Verswaggi, Lundell, Luosterainen. Evan Rodriguez, I think he's a nice pickup for him as well. But like I mentioned, Gudas going to Anaheim, that's going to be tough for them. Also, what kind of regular season are we going to get from Bobrovsky? I'm not sure if he's going to be backed up by Knight or Lyon, but I don't know.
Well, I believe Knight was sent down to the AHL, and everyone's rooting for him.
Right.
Everyone, knows that I think he went away to the player assistance program. So hopefully he's doing well. He finds his game again and has a chance. High pick, obviously a big ceiling there. I got him out. I love their forwards. It came down to Boston or them. Their forwards are great. I think Kachuk's going to continue to be one of the top players in the league, playing with the edge, one of the most fun players to watch night in, night out. Barkov is Barkov. He's amazing. For Hagee, they have some awesome forwards. And then if you even look at like their third line technically of Reinhardt, Lundell, and Luosterainen, that is big time.
Yeah.
So this is like I could be completely made a fool. I look back though to the 2002-2003 season. The Anaheim Ducks went on this wild run to the Cup final, backed by Jean-Sebastien Giguère, winning the Conn Smythe as the losing goaltender, but out of his tree insane. Unbelievable play. The next year, I think he had one of the worst years of his career. Anaheim finished, I believe, last in their division. And I just see like it was all Bobrovsky, was it not? At least like, granted, he didn't start the first round. He didn't start the first round. I shouldn't say that. They had clutch scoring and Kachuk. But how is he going to repeat that? And there's been struggles the past few years in the regular season. Not to mention, in terms of the D on the Bruins side, they got no Ekblad and no Montour till December, January.
Oh, that long?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. One of them is November to January. The other's December to January. You lose Mark Stahl. You lose the horse Gudas. You don't know what Bobrovsky's going to bring. And I just think after that run last year with a short summer, I don't have them making the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be bad. I think they're going to be right there. And they could end up winning the division. They're that good up front. But for me, it just seems like it was that miracle like run that nobody saw coming. Yeah. And the next year there's a step back.
And you don't get the adrenaline of the win either, right? And along with a few injuries. I love this core, and it's hard to root against them. And you mentioned some of those key losses they faced. I really like their pickups. Like this
Rodriguez is super skilled.
He's fucking awesome. He's got wheels on him. That Kulikov's good. That Mikkola, who was in, I think he was originally in St. Louis and then moved over to New York.
Yep.
And I thought he was tremendous. He's a big body. So you mentioned Ekman Larsson too, a place that he can get away from fucking negative media in Vancouver.
But he can't. He's got no boots, dude.
I will.
He's got no boots anymore.
So far in preseason, he's made a few nice plays. He's hit a few home run passes. Hey, if he's doing his thing offensively, I think if you can sacrifice a little bit of the offense for maybe how he's doing in the defensive zone. But overall, as far as these pickups to replace the guys that they've lost, like the Gudises and Duclair's a tough one on the third line too. I like them, but I don't have them getting in.
Wow, you too?
Wow. I don't have them getting in. No.
Wow.
Now they're definitely in.
I doubted them last year. I thought they weren't going to miss playoffs. They go on this magical run in the last 20 games to just get in. And I agree with you, Whit. Way too much on goaltending, and I don't think you can have that sustained magic, especially come an 82-game season, regular season.
Merles, what do you have?
They'll probably win a Stanley Cup now because I don't have them in either.
Oh, wow.
I don't have them in. I love Tkachuk. I love him. He's like the player I wish I was.
He's going to feed off of this.
Like, I wish I was him. I wish I was the guy that could score and fight and do everything and then drink beer at the bar, but I stunk. But it just, Bobrovsky can't play like he did in the playoffs for a full season.
It's impossible to recreate. And maybe if Brady and Matthew Tkachuk had actually done the sandbagger with us this summer, I would have them getting in. So is there some personal grievances maybe going on there? I don't know. I'm not going to say.
But always think about taking Florida at home. We know what the elbow room is like. We know what that Ritz-Carlton where all the visiting teams stay. So Florida will always have a chance because they're going to win their home games.
Well, we're going to get 86 from the Panther Bar after these predictions anyway. Oh, yeah. So, G, what do you got?
I feel like 90% of the team spent the entire summer rehabbing injuries. So I have them out as well. I just don't feel like they were able to, give a full summer. They had a shortened summer and they're all hurt. So.
And also, I mean, have you ever heard of guys coming back from a broken sternum? I mean, that's not a common injury. Like, that must be tough.
No, I think he's 100% fine, ready to go. I think that was just something, like, they didn't do surgery on him.
Right.
So it's something where over time, like, just a horrible bruise. I know it's broken sternum, but I'm assuming it's like, it just takes so long to heal, but once it's healed, you're good.
Yeah.
That's what I would go on.
I got him out as well, too. I think
holy shit.
No Ekblad Montour to start. That's going to hurt. And yeah, we didn't know. I mean, they didn't get their asses in gear the second half of the season last year. So
book the flights to Florida for the finals.
I got to reserve the table in the back of the elbow room for Merle. So, all right, a couple more notes before we let you all go here. The WHL suspended head coach Kevin Constantine indefinitely for, quote, violating the WHL standard of conduct policies by making derogatory comments of a discriminatory nature, end quote. Said, should Constantine wish to return to coaching in the WHL, he will be required to formally apply for reinstatement to the WHL commissioner. Constantine will not be eligible to apply for reinstatement until July 2025 at the earliest. So essentially, it's a 2-season suspension at a minimum before he can even be considered back in the league. But based on what we heard, it sounds pretty appropriate punishment.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to probably have to do a lot of work if what, we heard that he said was true and in order to eventually get reinstated. So if it is true, I just don't get it, especially after a prime example. It's like, I mean, I'm sure he reads the news and knows that Bill Peters got reinstated for pretty much the same thing. So I don't know what that was, what like subconsciously made him like come in and think that, oh, this is bullshit. A guy got fired for this, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Yeah. And is it also that because he's back in the WHL, they couldn't fire Constantine?
I don't know.
Right? Like in terms of like, I don't know. Like, it's kind of weird that he wasn't fired. That's all I'm saying.
Right, because they didn't use it. You're right. They didn't say terminated. It's just suspended. So I don't know how that goes as far as his pay or whatever. They didn't really answer those questions. But either way, Biz, whatever the reason is, it's 2023. There's just no reason for any coach to have that language at all. Anyway,
and like once again, like I mean, like second chances should be a thing. But I think that if what we heard, like you have to go away and understand like deep down why you did it, like what was bottled up in there in order you have that little flare up, right? And I'm sure he's feeling pretty embarrassed right now if what we heard is true.
Yeah, I mean, well, the statement.
Go put the work in.
Derogatory comments.
I know him. I played him 2 years. I'm sure it was just a mistake. Like, he is a good guy. He's a great coach. It's unfortunate mistake, but that's what you deal with.
Yeah.
He's an older guy. He's probably just retire anyway and be done.
Yeah. If it is, it's a shit way to go out. But some good news to end the show anyways. Derek Stepan officially retired.
Okay.
13 NHL seasons, 1,010 regular season and playoff games with the Rangers, Coyotes, and Hurricanes. Huge goal for the Rangers back on that cup run. And then he had that dynamite assist for the Canes when they eliminated Florida. Was it? Who'd they eliminate last year? He picked the puck off.
The Devils.
What's his name? Paul Stastny got the game winner. Yeah, the Devils. Unreal assist. Anyways, you guys know Step a little bit. Hell of a player. Just grit all the way his whole career. Just a gritty player, Biz.
Yeah, he was just smart, eh?
He was very smart. And I remember first kind of seeing him 2010 World Juniors. They won the gold medal. He had 14 points in 7 games. He was lighting up the World Juniors. So you're like, who's this kid? Played at Wisconsin and then came to the NHL. And I don't think ever obviously became a 70, 80 point guy, but consistently 50 to 60 every year. And when you do that for, what is it? Yeah, I mean, 57 points, 55, 53, 55, 56. That's a good run with 2 long runs in the playoffs with the Rangers. Just one of those guys that you could fill in like anywhere in the lineup. Always so responsible defensively. Teammates loved him. There's a reason he played that long without being the quickest player as well. Was never a speed burner. Just so smart and a hockey IQ off the chart. So a great player.
Oh, and very like hockey knowledgeable. And I think that he's going to end up trying to get into management of some sort. He's been hanging out with Billy G.
Yeah, yep.
There's been a bunch of pictures of him in the press box learning off of him. So
oh, really?
Yeah.
I think if you would have asked any of his former teammates, like, of the guys on the team who would be the most likely to step into management, they would have guessed Stepan. So just always watching hockey and you said not the guy to burn you physically, but just more of the mental side of the game, a very smart, intelligent player. And I want to say he had a hat trick in his first ever game with the Rangers.
4th player ever to have a hat trick in his NHL debut.
So just got off to a really hot start there. And I mean, that run you just mentioned in New York, man, was incredible. And he was a big part of those runs.
Yeah, and 10 out of 13 of his seasons, he was in the playoffs too.
Yeah, 20, his second year in the league, 20 playoff games. Next 12, next 24, next year 19. Like they had good teams in New York. They obviously had Lundqvist, but they had a lot of smart players like him that were perfect come playoff time.
It's not an accident that he's in the playoffs every year.
Yeah,
they play the right way and they drag everybody to play the right way with them.
Yeah, now Mike Russo did report he's been tagging around with Billy G, so I assume he's probably going to work at Minnesota at some point. So
hell of a career.
Yeah, congrats to Step. Boys, another tremendous weekend, Chicklets Cup, so Buffalo, fun. Tremendous host. Any final things you want to wrap up before
Shout out to Taylor Ray.
Ado?
Taylor Ray is the guy at Barstool who he spends all year working on this thing. It's Live Event Lisa's team. There's so many people that work on this. Hannah Crow, Ashley Casio, but Taylor Ray is someone who's really grabbed this thing by the balls and works on it all year. So shout out to him. He really killed it once again.
I'll give a last shout out to the team that hired us. We were hired guns, but we stunk. www.jacksonweiss.com. Donate to their foundation.
Donate, baby.
Thank you very much for listening. That is the preview of the NHL over the course of 4 weeks, 4 divisions. My Stanley Cup champ, Edmonton Oilers. Everyone else? Need a Stanley Cup champ at the end.
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Ottawa Senators. All right.
He doesn't have him in the playoffs, but he has him in the cup.
I got him in.
Oh, you did?
I put him in. I zanked.
So who you got your real pick?
Yeah, fuck it. I mean, I'll go Ottawa. Fuck it.
I got Toronto. Toronto Maple Leafs.
Bruins. Yeah.
I'll pick the Leafs too.
Colorado beating Leafs.
All right, folks. Thank you so much. Chicklets participants, thanks for being here. Buffalo, what a gracious drunk city. We love you, and we'll see you next week, guys. We got hockey back. Here we go.
The boys, we got to jump back on. We got some big breaking news on Monday. We already taped in Buffalo, but huge stuff we have to address. We woke up to news, well, at least some of us woke up to the news, that Buffalo extended stud defenseman Rasmus Dahlin with an 8-year, $88 million deal, carries it an $11 million AAV. He's got a no-move clause for the final 7 years of the deal. He's heading into the last year of a 3-year, $18 million deal. Biz, let's go to you first. This number about what we expected, high or lower? What's your take?
Well, sorry about the car noise. Excuse me. I'm on my way to the airport in Buffalo from my hometown, and obviously with this news breaking, we knew we had to hop back on. People, when we're doing the Atlantic breakdown, were probably losing their minds at the fact that we haven't mentioned this because most people think that we're recording on Monday. But what big news coming out of Buffalo? I have a lot of thoughts about it. First one being, I'm just happy for the city and the organization and the team going into this season with such high expectations that they don't have this kind of like little dark cloud flying over them, because sometimes, Whit, as you know, with the big dog, and more than likely after Opozo moves on, this is probably going to be the Buffalo Sabres future captain. And sometimes when these contract situations are kind of looming over the team going into a big year, they can play a little bit of a distraction. So for them to get it out of the way before the season gets going is huge. It's such a fucking morale boost in that locker room. I'm sure everybody's ecstatic for him because he's such an amazing guy and all the boys on the team love him. Obviously, bag secured. I believe that makes him, at least as of now, he's going to be the highest paid defenseman in the NHL after the final year of his bridge deal kicks in. That's kind of where I want to kick back off the bridge deal. Anytime a player wants to bet on himself and take, I would assume, Whit, you would agree with me, taking that 3 years times 6 was an absolute bargain for the Buffalo Sabres to get that type of production from a world-class defenseman at that $6 million number. Mind you, he's going to be playing this year after being nominated for the Norris and having career highs in basically every statistical category. He's going to be playing at $6 million. That's a bargain. People who are maybe upset about the $11 million as far as the hometown discount perspective, gambled on himself, and the news of the cap going up probably by about 4, maybe even 5 million next season could not have came at a better time for him and his agent. That is the stars aligning, well-deserved. And that is with timing the market perfectly. That is a home run contract for him and his agent. And I don't really have many other comments other than the fact that in a few years when the cap goes up, this still won't be that pricey. It's going to be right about where he's worth if he continues to excel and play at the production in which he did last season. The only other area of his game where he needs to maybe improve to get up to that number would be on the defensive side of the puck. But if you watch closely enough, that has improved. And I am very, very happy for the Buffalo Sabres and where his number is at. I think he's worth every goddamn penny. I hope I summarized that nicely for you.
Yeah, you did a good job. I'll disagree a little bit in terms of betting on himself. I mean, I don't know what options he had when his deal ended, his entry-level deal, because that year he signed the $6 million a year for 3 years. He was minus 36 that season with 23 points in 56 games, and actually had dipped down from his first 2 years in the league. So obviously, it wasn't like one of those things where I think he had a ton of options. Not to say he was in an issue or trouble in terms of his contract, but what he's done since is incredible. Obviously, last year was the pop-off year, the year all Sabres fans had waited for a little bit. First overall pick, all the expectations. It's so much harder for a defenseman than a forward to come into the league and dominate. That's why I still remember when Doughty did it at his age. It was just kind of mind-blowing because at 19 years old, D's not that easy in the NHL. So Dahlin's really figured it out. I've been on him a little bit defensively, but people have told me, Sabres fans have told me that I'm missing the boat on that one. That last year in his own zone, he was a lot better than he had been in prior years. Obviously, the offense is there. I'm not too worried about the deal either in terms of the payment, the number. The cap going up is the main reason. The other reason is they have such deals with Cousins. That'll end up being a deal. Thompson's an obvious deal. They have good contracts in place already where they're able to give a little bit more to a guy who is their best player. So I love it. I mean, the team is set up now. Obviously, if Owen Power is going to get re-signed, I don't think it'll be a number like that because Dahlin's there, and I don't think Owen Power's that talented offensively in terms of Dahlin's skill level. He'll probably never put up those enormous numbers to kind of get that $10 million cap hit. So they're still going to have to get him done. But now you kind of know where everyone's slates. Nobody will be getting any more than this guy. The Levi contract at some point will be coming up. I know he's just a rookie, but if he plays as well as everyone believes he can, that's another guy in the future in terms of thinking ahead. But it's a win for the Sabres fans. You're right, Biz.
Just to go back, like great point on the fact that he had a really tough year the year coming out of his entry level where the leverage probably wasn't in his favor. But at that point where you have a bad year and maybe your confidence was a little low, like I would imagine still at that time, he probably could have got an 8x8. And it's I would imagine what do you, body armor?
Oh, I was just shouting out body armor. I was just chugging some body armor. So I was shouting out a sponsor. You know what I'm all about the sponsors.
Classy guy. But basically at that point say, no, I'm going to say no to 64 million. And then all of a sudden you're waking up 2 years later after betting on yourself and you're getting an extra 20 something sheets. What would it be? 24 sheets.
Well, look at it, Biz. He's got 88 coming to him. He's coming off 18. I mean, dude, you're at 106 million in your career at the end of this deal, which I think he will only be. I mean, he's got one more season. He's 20. He'll be like 32 when that deal ends. So, God, this kid, he's set for life. That's needless to say.
Yeah, much impressive negotiating and
great job by his head. You're right. And, I shouldn't have said, maybe the team did go to him after that tough year and tried locking him up long-term, then getting the bargain because of the struggle of a season. And maybe it was him. So I'm not exactly sure of the details on that bridge deal, but you're right. The kid just kept going, kept booming. The team continues to be on the rise. That's why they're my Eastern Conference team this year. So I'm happy for him and I'm happy for the Sabres. After interviewing him and seeing how down to earth, I mean, like pretty much every Swede I've ever met, humble, team first, good people. It's an incredible group of people, that country and their players. They teach kids humility growing up. It's never bigger. You're never bigger than the team. And he just seems to come across as that way, as one of the guys with just this incredible skill level to be able to dominate at the NHL level as well. So it's an awesome deal.
And I second that. I actually got the opportunity after we interviewed him to spend a little time at the EA shoot with him for the NHL video game. I know Cale Makar got the cover, but he flew out to Vancouver, Dahlin did, and we did some fun videos. So just a great guy to spend some time with. And as you mentioned, extremely humble and exactly the guy you want in your room leading this team.
But Biz, I'd say the real shock was Monday afternoon. The Winnipeg Jets, out of nowhere, shocked the hockey world. The team announced that it signed both forward Mark Scheifele and goalie Connor Hellebuyck to identical 7-year, $59.5 million contract extensions. The deals both have an $8.5 million AAV. Both were scheduled to be UFA after this season. I think everybody thought they were going to get traded this season. Pretty much not going to happen now. One thing I've noticed so far, though, Hellebuyck has a no-move clause for the first 3 of the new deal and a modified no-trade clause for the last 4. There's nothing listed for Scheifele yet. It could be posted at some point. Cap Friendly says it's not official, but right now there's nothing there as far as his trade protection. But go to you first on this one. What's your take? Were you as shocked as everybody else seemingly is?
Well, I think everyone probably woke up to the Dahlin news, and then this news broke this afternoon. That's what you woke up to, right? All right, you woke. Yeah, perfect. There we go.
I made a reference to that already. Yeah.
No. I actually, when I saw these deals, I was more excited for Jets fans. And it kind of puts aside these players who deserve these amazing contracts that'll pretty much round out their careers, I think you could say. Obviously not to the extent where I don't think they'll play after them. Who knows what'll go, but this is their big last contracts for both of them. And I just thought of Jets fans. And it goes back to kind of what I said in the preview of the Central, like just not much there. I got no real excitement around the team. And now I think that was kind of a opinion shared around the league a little bit. And Jets fans, it's just a struggle to get free agents to go there. And all of a sudden, boom, your 2 top players, you get the news that they're going to be there for 7 more years. I mean, even 8 more years because they have deals this year. So it's just one of those things where you're excited for a fan base that is looking for a total bounce back season. And Army right now, his prediction of them winning the Central looks a lot better. I mean, obviously, we'd heard about some locker room stuff, and Blake Wheeler, there was always kind of things going around in terms of like the locker room seemed a little fractured, and it was stale. And Bonus last year was disgusted at effort by certain guys. It was just kind of a clusterfuck of an end of the season in the summer for the Jets, where everyone's just talking about, hey, where's Hellebuyck going to be? Where's Scheifele going to be? So all the fans that are panicked and worried about losing these 2 guys, they're now like breathing a sigh of relief, now excited to get this season going. Now a team that probably has a ton to prove. And in that room is looking around like saying, nobody's believing in us. Everyone's counting us out. And we just got our 2 big dogs to commit long-term. It's a hell of a feeling for a franchise and a fan base that kind of deserves it, in my opinion, right? They've had some good teams. They had that run to the Western Conference Finals years back when Vegas beat them their inaugural season. So it's time to kind of like, all right, we got the new room, in quotations, I'll say, and a new vibe here. Let's go on a run now that these 2 guys are signed. So it's a great moment for all Jets fans, I think.
What a breakdown by Whit, dog. Probably the biggest question mark I have, RA, is the fact that it's already been posted that there's a no move clause for Hellebuyck early in that deal, where it hasn't been posted for Scheifele. And if it ends up rolling out that there is there's no structure to it where it keeps him put, where there's let's say a no move clause, I just find it very interesting. And then I guess hard to believe that part of this conversation and negotiation is, listen, let's see how it now plays out at the fact that some guys are gone, and and sometimes people think that we're withholding information. Other than the fact that the locker room dynamic just wasn't working, I don't know any of the nitty-gritty details as to why it wasn't working. But what we do know is Blake Wheeler, right, and as Blake Wheeler, as one of the leaders of that team, has moved on, and Dubois, who I would have considered, I would assume, a guy of a core group standard, kind of wanted out at that point. Now he's gone. It kind of seems like it's Scheifele and a few other guys' team now. Well, if that experiment doesn't work out in this first half of season, and let's say a team, and we keep mentioning Boston because their lack of depth at center ice right now, maybe it's almost as if a sign and trade, but at least Winnipeg gets the leverage of being, well, if things do work out, we get to keep this guy and build towards the future with all these other young players that we do have coming in, and at a contract that I think is extremely fair. And I know that Scheifele's getting a little bit up there in age, and some people sometimes are like, well, once you hit 30, the decline really happens. This is a guy who's been playing on a contract where he was making $6 million at a point per game. So he's already had that bargain deal. And I believe that he's worth every bit of this 8.5, even giving his age and what his production can be. So still very interested to see what could happen moving forward, and interested to see what the Jets can do this season, because I think that most people in the hockey world are completely counting them out. If Army ends up accurate with his prediction that they win the Central, that'll be the most insane hit, and I hope that he put money on it if that's the case. So overall, going towards Hellebuyck, I'm just as surprised as everyone else that these deals ended up happening. But I mean, Hellebuck's a world-class goaltender. I'm happy for him because I don't think that the money is necessarily there in free agency for goaltenders, especially at the fact that moving forward, it seems like more teams are relying on this 2-goalie system. And specifically at the fact that it's a copycat league, and we saw what happened last year with the Vegas Golden Knights. So I know on the flip side of it, you're saying, well, look what Bobrovsky ended up doing, with his salary and taking them to the finals. But we're seeing the first example a lot more than we are with Bobrovsky ended up popping off and spending all this money on one particular guy. So very happy for him. Obviously well earned, but as Whit mentioned at the end of what he said, very happy for Jets Nation. It's what they do in town. They care about that team. So very interested to see how this season plays out for them.
I also think that like Biz said, timing's everything. Scheifele has his career high in goals last year. And Hellebuyck, did he finish third in Vezina, I believe, last season? He won one prior in 1920. So it's like these guys performed when they had to. Now, granted, it wasn't their UFA season, but now you just see, if you could have a monster year, teams want to lock you up with that other year. And I thought that there was just a chance that, in a sense, the Jets organization was willing to move on from these guys, try to get younger throughout trade. But obviously, if that was looked at this season, they weren't looking at returns that they were comfortable with. And they could have not even been shopping them around. I don't know. But in the end, they look at it like, all right, these guys are 30 years old. They're both 30. They signed the same exact deal. We have to probably plan on 3 to 4 years. And that's like being possibly like a little, maybe too extreme. Like that's what you're hoping in terms of elite play still. You can't count on a 35-year-old forward and a 35-year-old goalie to be maybe worth that price tag. But for sure as shit, they are right now. And they still have one more year on their old deal. So
I want to ask you this question, Whit. So we were going back and forth on what value in the summertime as opposed to getting them for a whole season as opposed to maybe at the deadline value. Do you think that this benefits Winnipeg from a trade perspective for Scheifele now, because teams will know that they have him locked in at a fairly reasonable number? Like let's say worst case scenario, Scheifele on a team it becomes a second line center. I look at it like a Tavares type production where you're not having to pay a guy 11.5, where now he's maybe not in that top center role, but at 8.5, that's got to be a pretty reasonable number where the value goes up, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if he stays like a 30 to 40 goal guy, a 70 to 80 point guy, that 100% is a nice deal. Now, I will be shocked. I guess if it's already come out that Hellebuyck has the no move clause early and a modified no move later, I would be shocked though if Scheifele didn't have something like that. And maybe it was almost his idea in terms of like, maybe I would want to get moved, but to sign a long-term deal with another year on your current deal, it's crazy to me that the thought would even enter your mind of possibly being traded throughout it. Like, that's the whole thing about these long-term deals with guys. They're thinking in their mind, I'll be there for every single year of that. So of course, if you look at now where, say, Boston, for example, ever wanted to trade for Scheifele, they had to figure out what that they then could re-sign him for, considering what anyone would have given up for. You got to re-sign him. And then now they kind of know. So I just would be very surprised, though, if it comes out that this is just a deal with no sort of protection for the player. But if it is, yeah, I mean, anyone's going to move them. It makes it easier in terms of knowing what you're signing up for.
All right. You seem like you got something to say right now.
Yeah, just to reiterate the no trade thing, it has that little like sort of black circle with the white exclamation point on cap friendly, unconfirmed. This is Scheifele. Contract based on initial report. Once the details have been confirmed, the contract will be updated, assuming there are more details. But what I noticed, is the press release from the team said identical 7-year, $59.5 million contract extension. So if they're identical, wouldn't you conclude that they would have the same clauses? Or
yeah,
no?
yes, but I think the meaning of that is more the years and the AAV but you're right. If you're saying identical, it would be the exact same thing. So, but I will be super surprised if that deal doesn't happen.
The only reason we're speculating is because one's posted, one hasn't, and the fact that I think a lot of people are shocked that this happened right before the season, where I would have said, if you said top 5 players that you would predict, top end players that you would predict to get traded at some point this season, Scheifele would be on everybody's list.
Absolutely.
I think they were both like probably number 1 and 2 going into the season.
Yeah, we basically had him traded.
That's why it's great for Jets. No, it's all right. That's why it's great for Jets fans. Because I think once the season starts, it's like, that's the last thing you need. And the players never want it. How many times do you see a player, I'm not doing anything when the season starts? Well, they got it done the night before, the eve of the Christmas Eve for us NHL hockey fans. They got it done. No worries, no confusion, no questions for those two to answer throughout the season. Just time for a team to go get some wins and surprise a lot of pundits like myself.
Yeah, they said the message to fans, like you said, they're not stripping it down. The time is now. I mean, Hellebuyck's a top-flight goalie, Scheifele a top-flight center. They got Morrissey signed till 28. Let's see, Kyle Connor 3 more years, Ehlers 2 more years. So, like, basically the time is now for Winnipeg. I mean, I guess you consider them still a contender because after these few years, who knows what's going to happen. But right now, man, I'd say the Jets are back having these two guys locked up. It's a huge day for Jets and Jets fans, no doubt.
No, hey, just like Whit said, I'm looking forward to Jets fans and their team shoving it up my hoop, and
take that.
Maybe they become the surprise of the season.
Yeah,
I would love to go up to Winnipeg for a playoff series in the spring. Because I didn't pick them doesn't mean I don't love that place. I had a great couple nights there at the casino. I remember me and Merles, we stayed up all night at the casino. We were sick as dogs too. That's before COVID. You'd probably be thrown in prison in Canada now for having the sniffles in public.
I'd love to go find my future. I'd love to go find my future ex-wife at the Shark Club or Earl's there.
That boy, but it's a fucking rights, buddy.
Will the Prime Minister listen to it once again?
Listen to me. But I'm glad this all broke, with enough time for us to hop back on, because it would have been unfortunate with this episode drop without recapping 3 huge deals signed on Christmas Eve of the 2023-2024 NHL season.
And the fact that we could reiterate just a big thank you to everybody in Buffalo. I don't know if we gave Dirty Honey Band enough flowers.
Oh, those guys are great.
Like, go follow them, like, go listen to their music. They're incredible. Live performance was like, it was fucking nuts. They were shredding in the guitar. They got RA up there. So everything that they did for us, the city of Buffalo, everybody at Barstool who makes those Chicklets Cups possible. There's so much effort that goes into setting that up. And then, of course, all the participants that make it worth doing. So we love you guys. And that's pretty much all I got to say.
Tons of content coming too from the Chicklets Cup. We'll have a series on the Big Deal Selects coming next week. We got a vlog coming from the whole thing, and then we're ending the month with the Sandbagger. So tons of content coming soon.
tons of question marks coming out of the Big Deal Selects corner, guys. It's just, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that weekend.
Well, we had a great time up there. Once again, thanks to Buffalo, like Biz just said. Thanks to everybody who came to Chicklets Cup. We'll see you at the next one, whenever and wherever it may be. But have a great week, everyone. Enjoy the next NHL season. We'll see you next week.